All right, we're live. What's going on? What is up, everybody? Isn't that crazy? Right at 9 o'clock. You got to give me credit. That was crazy timing. Talk about being punctual. Talking about, that's it, bro. We're done with the late streams. I'm going to make it on time now. And you know what's the thing? I'm a viewer, right? Obviously, I watch my brother. I watch Sneako. I watch Nick. I watch all these guys. And, yo, when they're late, it's like, bro. Especially like, yo, especially when I used to watch my brother a lot before I started streaming, it would take him like 50 years. And I would be like, bro. Like, I'd be there. It low-key is like, I'll be honest, there's like a psychological element to it because it kind of gets you amped up and you're waiting. And then finally, they're live. But I'm on time. Okay? I'm on time. Long day. Finished work, hit the gym. Ramadan's over, so now I could hit the gym at a normal time, not at like ungodly hours. Dude, it was rough. This last Ramadan was probably the toughest Ramadan I've ever had. Not even probably, it was. And I'll tell you why, bro. Literally, the Iran war started right when Ramadan kicked off in the beginning of March, February 28th. So the beginning of March, Ramadan starts, the war starts, I start streaming with my brother. So we're covering this shit out of this war. Minute 1 to minute 1 million, like every single day we're on it. We're giving you every single development, every single update, our analysis. By the way, we've been rectified in everything that we predicted, but I digress. We're going through it, and I'm fasting and working a full-time job. I know I'm doing like the whole sympathize thing, but like, bro, toughest Ramadan. I was operating on 10 seconds of sleep every single day. It was low-key impressive. Because I go to work, get home, break my fast, hit the gym, finish the gym. I'm trying to do cardio. I'm trying to get shredded, right? June is around the corner. And then get home, take some notes. I'm looking at the news all day at work. Then I go live. So, but anyways, enough about me. We're going to get into everything that's been happening the last few days. The biggest thing is Donald Trump's tweet or Truth Social post, whatever you would call it. He said that him and Iran have had a productive few days of negotiation. And so he's giving them 5 days, postponement of 5 days in regards to the strike. That, by the way, is definitely coming likely this weekend. And we'll talk about why. But we'll go over that. We'll go over Israel's like 48-hour kind of addendum and how they're going to probably strike Iran in a way that they haven't really struck Iran aggressively in these next 48 hours. And could be an act of desperation because they believe what Trump is saying, but really there's another reason. And we'll talk about all of it, But it'll be good. We'll go for like 2 hours. But there's a lot to cover. I want to go over Adam on PBD. I want to go over PBD's analysis of this war. They've been really dishonest. And, me and my brother have just been getting it from the Trump supporters, man. Pause. Like, every other day I'm getting some sort of DM. I'm looking at some sort of comment. Everybody's saying, you don't know what you're talking about. Trump is the best to do it. And I don't know how people are still, like, in favor of this war. I don't know how people are still in favor of Trump. So let me get this straight. And I've done this before, but like I really have to like get this off. Actually, here's a story. I'm at work today and I'm in the kitchen, making my coffee to get through my wretched day of work. And there's these two guys who are next to me and they're talking about the war. I don't know them. They work in another department, right? In the kitchen's got all the snacks and stuff. And they're talking about the war. And so obviously, I'm not eavesdropping, but then I start to eavesdrop. I'm actively listening now because they're talking about the war. And I'm like, I want to see what they're going to say. Not that I'm going to interject or even involve myself in that conversation because it's like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not the kind of person who's like, well, actually, I don't care. Like it's whatever. Everybody has their opinion. I don't expect everybody to be informed. And that's not being hierarchical, like I'm smarter than everybody, but like, you're just going to waste your breath trying to talk to people about this stuff if they're that misinformed, because you've got to start from like ground zero. You've got to start from like the basement. You've got to start from like 100 feet underground if you want to educate somebody as to why this war is bad. If somebody's pro-war, if somebody's pro-Trump currently, for you to actually bring them to light, especially if they're like over 30 or 40, in which these two gentlemen were, it's just like not worth it. Especially because in the grand scheme of things, at the end of everything, they won't even see eye to eye with you. So I'm making my coffee, and this guy is like, these guys are maybe in their 30s, late 20s, 30s, whatever. And he's like, dude, Trump is the first president to actually put Iran in check, and just glazing. And I'm like, bro. Because at this point, and you know, it's an illusion because I'm surrounding myself around people who understand the conflict. I'm consuming content from individuals who understand what's happening, who have a grasp of the world, who are literate in politics, literate in media. And so when I hear people who are still in support of this war, it is shocking. It really is shocking. And like I said, I've been getting all the hate. And I'll catch myself like replying, and I'm like, what am I doing? It's like, what am I doing? Like, you're not even worth the conversation because you're so far gone. You're so wrong. You're so wrong. And I'm the kind of person, by the way, I really am this kind of person. My brother has the same quality. If somebody disagrees with me politically, I don't care, you know? Like, if somebody disagrees with my political opinion, if somebody doesn't agree with where I stand, if somebody doesn't agree with Islam, if somebody doesn't agree with, you know, being right-wing or left-wing, if they're right-leaning or left-leaning, if they're Democrat even, like, I don't mind, you know? I can make friends with people. I can have discourse with those people, can be friendly with them, whatever. But when it's to this point where you're in favor of something that is incredibly destructive to not only our number one position, it's shaving time off of what will eventually not be the number one country. Like, this could push us closer to losing that hegemony in the world. This could push us closer to not being the number one nation. And we're not as close as I think some people are suggesting. Like, maybe Dave Smith is a little bit aggressive in his approach on that, because I think he said something along those lines. But like, regardless, you know, if you're for this war, you're anti-American, effectively, whether you mean it or not. Being for this war is anti-American. So I get it with the boomers. You're 60 or 70, even 40. It's like whatever, because those people are not in the loop. They don't have access to alternative media most of the time. And so for them, it's relatively understandable, at least a little bit more understandable than somebody who's our age, because, I mean, it's really not that hard to kind of get the facts on this. And also, kind of, you know, mainstream news outlets have been kind of honest on the war, at least in their reporting. If somebody is not brain dead, if somebody's got some sort of intellectual capability or capacity, you should be able to discern that this war is not going in our favor. You know, I know the term asymmetrical has been abused lately, but that's kind of the best way to frame it, with Iran's utilization of the Strait of Hormuz, with them attacking the Gulf countries and so on. And we'll get into that in a moment. Even an older person, an older gentleman, an older woman who's watching the news, Fox News, CNN, reading the New York Times, reading New York Post, whatever, it should be relatively obvious to you that, like, this war is kind of reaching a crossroads. Like, we're kind of stalemated in some way. And they've been honestly reporting it. I've been reading the news every day, and it's like, they're getting kind of honest here. And funny enough, if you didn't see, Donald Trump last week had commanded Brendan Carr, the chief of the commissioner of the FCC, which is the federation that's in charge of regulating the news, regulating what they report, issuing licenses, revoking licenses, whatever. Now, it's not confirmed that Donald Trump forced him to do this, but it's kind of like read the room, read between the lines. It's quite obvious. I would imagine he did it. I don't even think it's speculative to say that. And so Donald Trump obviously commands Brendan Carr to threaten these media agencies to stop in reporting fake news, right? He says, we're going to revoke your licenses. You guys are reporting propaganda, all this stuff. And that's a testament to the fact that the mainstream media has kind of been giving the real spill. Now, I'm not saying they're like giving you guys the full whirl of everything and how this is not beneficial for the United States and how we're serving the interests of Israel and whatever. I'm not saying they're saying all that, but they're kind of suggesting it. It's kind of like, hey, you kind of can connect the pieces here if you're watching full time. So honestly, there is no excuse for older folks even at this point. And we have the lesson of the Iraq War. We have the lesson and the mistake that we made with weapons of mass destruction from 2003 and invading Iraq and toppling Saddam Hussein and destroying the country turning it into a parking lot and leaving it to be an endless zone of power vacuums with different factions trying to come to power and destroying the country, destroying the native population, you know? And Bush in 2017 in a CNN interview apologized and said, yeah, there were no weapons of mass destruction. He gave the whole story. UN in 2008 declared there were no weapons of mass destruction, as well as in other times. So it's like, hey, we have the framework from our previous mistakes. We also have the news being kind of honest, and then it's on you to just, it's right there. You just got to you got to bring it a little bit closer, but it's right there, you know? So it's disheartening. It's disheartening. It's demoralizing when people are not on the right side of history. But then again, I think one of the first steps to insanity is expecting everybody to perceive the world the same way you do, right? Not everybody's going to understand things the right way and whatever have you, but I feel like it's really easy to be on the right side of history right now. It's really easy to be on the right side. It's really easy to be the good guy here. It's really easy to kind of have the right opinion right now. Whereas in other times, it's a little bit more divisive. Whereas in other times, it's a little bit more like there's nuance here. There's a difference of opinion, both being valid. But I think today, with this war, it's like, hey, buddy, you know, draw the line in the sand and stand where you are. Don't come later and say, well, you know, now that I look at it, it's like, no. Keep up your pro-war sentiment. Keep it up. Or read chats really quick. And then we'll get into everything. You know, but it's like that. It's been driving me crazy. Or do I have any chats? Whoa, $50 chat from Tony. Whoa, Tony, God bless you, bro. Thank you so much. Appreciate the content you put out. You the man, Jim, bro. Keep killing it. Shout out my guy, Tony. God bless you, bro. Appreciate that a lot. It's my guy in the gym. Shout out to him, man. I get to the gym and it's just straight geopolitics. Love that guy. Nav says, I saw your video with Myron about the Antichrist. Please collab with Sneako on this topic. He said he would do it. Did he? Yeah, I would love to talk to Sneako again. And inshallah, me and Sneako will talk again probably. I like tuned in to Kick to see what he was doing right before I went live, and he just got off, which is funny. But I know he was streaming from earlier today, so he's beat. He was streaming for a long time. But yeah, I would love to. I don't know if you're saying he said that a second time. I don't know what you mean, but no, certainly would love to talk to Sneako about everything that's going on, because there's a lot more to talk about than Times Square. And by the way, that's a testament to the fact that I can get along with somebody yet still disagree with them, right? Sneako is a great example. Me and Sneako obviously disagree on the Times Square thing. And it's not that deep, but I love Sneako. You know, I watch him all the time. Been watching him for years. So it's like, I don't care. But you got to be on the right side of history, man. And I'll tell you what, and people aren't going to like this. This is probably not going to be a popular thing to say, I guess. But like, you know why there is this appetite for war in the Middle East? You know why people are in support of this war? Why people aren't as mad as at least I once expected them to be in February before this all started, before this all launched off and took off? Is because there is still this idea that like Muslims hate the United States because the United States is free. Islam hates Christianity because Christianity is not Islam. Muslims hate freedom. They hate uncovered women. And it's like, not really. And what do I mean by that? The anti-Western sentiment that you find in the Middle East, written across the entire Middle East, honestly, is due to, primarily, the biggest reason is the creation of Israel in 1948 and everything that's culminated as a result of Israel. Israel pushing their borders, Israel annexing the West Bank, annexing Gaza, committing war crimes. Seems like they're attempting to annex southern Lebanon because they say they're fighting Hezbollah and then they're bombing neighborhoods right now. And so that's kind of where it all comes from. And then also Western intervention. Dave Smith said this to Adam Sosnick when they were debating on Piers Morgan, which we'll react to in an hour or so. And he says the United States, now I wouldn't go as far as to say the United States is a terrorist entity, but I would say we have dealt terroristic attacks against countries for their interest. And by the way, Arab Muslims intimately understand this, Arab Christians as well. They get that. And so that's where the whole like, I'm tired of the United States thing comes from. That's where the whole death to America thing comes from. It's not because Americans are white and they're like not Muslim. And you've got to be so dense to not understand that. But that's the fuel that enables Americans to be on the wrong side of this conflict. That's kind of like the whole foundation. that needs to be knocked down. That doesn't mean you need to be pro-Islam. Doesn't mean you need to be like this pro-Muslim. Like, I'm not even saying you got to go as far as Tucker Carlson has been going, because Tucker Carlson has been dealing a great amount of influence or compliments to Qatar and the UAE and these Gulf countries. And I'm not even saying you got to go that far. All I'm saying is you've got to understand that Muslims are mad because the United States is serving Israel's interest, and as a result, they're dying in record numbers. They're being killed. They're being displaced. That's that simple. You've got to be able to understand that. If you can't understand that, then you're always going to think that some sort of Middle Eastern intervention like this one we're currently involved in is beneficial. So, and that's what I mean when I say like red pilling somebody on this is so much work. If they don't already have somewhat of an idea, it's not worth your time. It really isn't, you know, because for some people, it's just over for them. They can't discern right from wrong. They can't discern. They've just got no literacy in this stuff. So it's whatever. But that's like the first, I think that's, people don't talk about that. That's like the first stepping stone to really helping somebody understand why being involved in the Middle East is negative, as well as the fact that like, because now the motivation, what I'm hearing from people is, well, Iran is, you know, invoking terror on the Middle East and the proxy network, and they scream death to America. And it's like, okay, but why? And then it's like, well, they hate us. It's like, no. It's like, no. Sure, but why? You know, there's a deeper reason. You have to unpack that. And a lot of people have never really unpacked that or questioned themselves on that. And I get it. It's like easy for me to say this because I'm Muslim. I get it, whatever. But it's true. It's true. That's why that region is upset with the United States. That's why there's terrorism that comes out of that region. You know, it's super simple. And maybe I'm over explaining it, but it's really dense. People have a hard time understanding this, coming to terms with it. You know, violence does breed some sort of resistance. It breeds an anti-American sentiment. And we have the biggest leg. We have the biggest arm in supporting Israel, supplying them weapons. We've done it since the 50s, the 60s, when they were kind of stealing weapons. But now in the 70s, you know, they threatened us and we gave them weapons. Otherwise, they were going to be destroyed by by Egypt and Syria in the Yom Kippur War. And that's one example. But that's why they're upset. And it's like, how can you not understand that? And I tweeted this. I said, these Trump shills are pissing me off. And I'm not trying to be like anti-Trump. I actually really enjoy how honest Donald Trump is. I really enjoy his lack of political correctness because in a way it's refreshing. You had Obama, forget Biden because, you know, he was kind of losing it. But you had Obama, and Obama was a phenomenal orator. Obama gave the best speeches. Obama filled the room with intellect, regardless of however you feel about him. By the way, terrible foreign policy got us into issues with Russia, got us into several wars in the Middle East. I'm not giving him credit. But what I will say is he had this element of like a political tone that made you feel safe. And like Trump just came in and said, we're building a wall and the Mexicans are going to pay for it. And it was like, it was cool. You know what I mean? Like, it was this like unapologetic, like, fuck you, I'm not apologizing. This is what it's going to be. And it was at a time where the country kind of did need that. And some people say it's an overcorrection and whatever. It was base. Say what you want. And Trump is honest. I think Trump, to me, he was likable. But ever since this new term, bro, it has been hell. It's been hell. And you got to admit it. That's what I'm saying. You know, it hurts me to admit it. I didn't vote for him this last term, and I expressed that because of the whole Gaza situation. But outside of everything else, it's disheartening, you know? It sucks. So, anyways, sorry. Andrew Tate Show says Iraq 2.0. Riyadh says thought on Hamza Yousef. Hamza Yousef? Am I tripping? Oh, Hamza Yousef? I'm indifferent. I'm not really sure what he talks about. But he works at little Muslim LARP, little nerd LARP here. I know he's a professor at Zaytuna College in California. And Dr. Ali Atai is also a professor there. And that's somebody I really would love to talk to in the future. He is a scholar of the Bible. He has a PhD in hermeneutics, as well as the fact that he's an expert in eschatology and all that. That's something about it. Somebody that I want to talk to and interview soon. He's been covering Iran and everything, but he's always been excellent. He's really good. And he used to do apologetics. He debated David Wood back in the day, but he's kind of stepped away from it. But so that's, I know, I've seen Hamza Yousef before. I've never really listened to him, but I know that his colleague, I'm sure they're colleagues because they work at the same school. I would love to talk to him one day, inshallah. Anyways, all right, sorry. I'm over here yapping. Bro. But we will get into everything. I guess the best place to start is the Truth Social post. I know I'm a little bit behind, so I apologize. I didn't go live the last couple days. All right, someone just said you're like a chocolate version of Myron. What is going on, bro? Pause? Okay. Anyways, so where are we currently? That just threw me off. I've got to turn the chat off on the screen. I'm sorry. Okay, guys, I love you, but I'm like talking and that shit screws me up. It's got to stay like this. When I screen share, I'll have the chat on. Here, I'll have it on now, but when I like really start monologuing, it's got to come off. Okay? Chocolate version of Myron. All right, bro. I'm black, though. They say I'm not black. I am black. So where are we? So I guess we'll start here. I'll pull this up on screen. So hopefully you can see this. If you're not watching, you can just listen. I'll read it. But if you're watching, of course, you can read it along with me. So Donald Trump took to Truth Social. This is 2 days ago. Again, like I said, I'm a little late. But this will kind of frame everything I'm going to explain later. So he says, I am pleased to report that the United States of America and the country of Iran have had, over the last 2 days, very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East. Based on the tenor and tone of these in-depth, detailed, and constructive conversations, which will continue throughout the week, I have instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for a 5-day period. If you guys don't know, and I covered this in my last tweet, or rather my last live, Donald Trump had issued this 48-hour ultimatum that if Iran didn't come to the table on certain things and whatever and open up the Strait of Hormuz, the primary thing is he would bomb their power plants, which if you don't know, that would cause a total blackout. They'd have a lack of food, water, hospitals would run without water, or electricity, people would die, people in the ICU, whatever. It would be catastrophic. What that would warrant, though, is obviously Iran to strike back, primarily the Gulf countries. And their salination plants, by the way, these Middle Eastern countries don't have tons of agriculture. If you bomb those water plants that converts salt water or ocean water into fresh drinking water, if you bomb that and you get into the airspace, you actually hit it, you destroy these things, which Iran has proved over the last few weeks they can effectively do, then you've just exacerbated an already existing problem to a level where it won't be bandaged in a few weeks. Right now, if we have a ceasefire, we might be able to salvage something and get back to normal in the next couple months or weeks. Obviously, you still have the threat of war resuming, and so the oil prices will stay volatile. If you don't know, stock markets and oil prices simply react to threats, not even action. So, I obviously, one would like to think, oh, okay, Trump is talking to Iran, so he pulled back. No, it's Trump realized if he does that, Iran is going to continuously deal this asymmetric style of warfare. And at this point, is it asymmetric or are we just losing? I'm sorry. Somebody got to say that shit. Okay? Is it asymmetric or are we just losing? Because it gets to a point, bro. They've got control of the Strait of Hormuz. They're bombing the shit out of the Gulf countries. As we speak, they're still bombing them. Every single time I go live, there's some update that Kuwait got hit. The international airport got hit earlier today. Days prior, Qatar is still getting, UAE is still getting hit. Bahrain, Iraq had the whole issue where the soldiers are down. It's like, hey, they're causing a regional mess, something that I predicted prior. So the Gulf countries, you've got the fact that they're posing a threat to the entire region. Everybody's on their toes. They're controlling the oil prices of the world. Brent crude oil, which is the world standard, has peaked at $120. If it wasn't for Trump pulling a record amount of reserves, it would have stayed there. By the way, he had to lift sanctions off of Russia and Iran to bring these prices back down. Okay, what else have they done? They've been striking the shit out of Israel. They've been doing everything they promised they would do. By the way, all their military leadership has been killed, yet they're still operating autonomously or individually of said leadership that was supposed to be vital for the functionality of the government or functionality of the military. So, I mean, yeah, it's asymmetric, but it's almost like, hey, we're losing. Hey, we're losing here. We haven't covered any ground. What's the goal in Iran? For Israel, at least. It's regime change. We're not even close to that. For Trump, he claims it's the nuclear thing and whatever. Again, we have not even made way underground. So where are we in regards to that goal? We're not close enough, obviously. And this weekend, it looks like we're going to take the next step, the critical step in getting there. So I'll continue reading this, but that's some quick context. Anyways, he says, I have instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for a 5-day period, subject to the success of the ongoing meetings and discussions. Thank you for your attention to this matter, Donald J. Trump. Okay, so here's the thing. That's cute and all, but that's not true. And I'll pull this up, but I'll explain why that's not true. We can just watch this very quickly.
Right about 20 minutes now past the hour, President Trump sounding optimistic about talks with Iran, saying that negotiators have made progress on at least one major point.
It all starts with they cannot have a nuclear weapon. Just, I said yesterday, they said, what are the top 10? I said, well, number 1, 2, and 3 is they can't have a nuclear weapon. And they're not going to have a nuclear weapon, and we're talking about that. And I don't want to say in advance, but they've agreed they will never have a nuclear weapon. They've agreed to that.
That from Tuesday. Now on Wednesday morning, Peter Doocy picks it up. North Lawn, White House. Peter, nice to see you. Good morning.
Bill, good morning. And that is a big step closer to the end of Epic Fury if Epic Fury was started to stop Iran from getting a nuke. Now officials here are floating a 15-point peace plan to end the war once and for all.
It was a very big present worth a tremendous amount of money. And I'm not going to tell you what that present is, but it was a very significant prize. It wasn't nuclear related. It was oil and gas related. And it was a very nice thing they did. But what it showed me is that we're dealing with the right people.
Part of the problem is that part of the group that created all these problems in Iran, Iran's Revolutionary Guard, has a spokesman saying about these negotiations, have your internal conflicts reached the point where you are negotiating with yourselves? Our first and last word.
Bro. Right there is what I'm talking about. You missed it. If you missed it, we'll play it again. I'll bring it back a few seconds. Pay attention. This is Fox News. This is Fox News. This is a Republican media outlet. Pay attention.
Saying about these negotiations, have your internal conflicts reached the point where you are negotiating with yourselves? Our first and last word has been the same from day one, and it will stay that way. Someone like us will never come to terms with someone like you. But President Trump is suggesting that the old guard is out of the mix.
We killed all their leadership, and then they met to choose new leaders, and we killed them.
So anyways, done with him. So we have statements from the IRGC. I also read in an Axios report about 1 or 2 days ago that there were some anonymous sources that gave a tip off to the fact that the IRGC or Iran has not spoken with Trump despite his claims. So what's happening here? Trump's being dishonest. Something's going on. What's going on? It's a few things, but I'll tell you the main thing is obviously Trump is losing control of stock prices. Trump is crashing Wall Street. Oil prices are through the roof. Gas is up $1 in the United States. Some people are reporting that it's costing them $30 or $40 more to fill their tank, which is significant. That's a big jump. People don't have money. TSA agents are not showing up to work because they're not getting paid. And the cherry on top is the fact that it costs double what it cost prior to fill up their gas tank to the job they're not getting paid for. Under his government, by the way. You could say it's the Democrats. At the end of the day, he's in office. This is a bad look for him. And then he's putting ICE agents in place of them. Bad look. Where are we at, bro? But anyways, so we have this situation ongoing currently. Iran is saying we're not talking with the United States. Don't know what Trump is talking about. He's talking to himself. Old man's losing it. And then Trump at the same time is saying we're having successful peace negotiations. Trump is pushing off this attack on these power plants. Why? Could be a couple reasons. I think one of the most important things is the fact that Trump realizes even if they hit these power plants, that does not address the most pressing issue, which is why oil prices are so volatile. That's the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is responsible for 20% of the world's oil export, 80% belonging to that of the Gulf, as well as Qatar's production of helium in other vital resources that are essential in being exported to other countries, primarily Asia, which, by the way, a couple Asian countries have now stated that in the next 3 or 4 weeks, they may run out of their reserves of helium, of oil, of other things, which again will cause a ripple effect across the entire world, as we've already felt. The prices are high, but this is just step one. It can get worse. And so the biggest issue and the biggest point of pressure for Donald Trump right now is obviously the Strait of Hormuz. He has to secure and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Hitting their power plants not only does not really directly address that said issue, but it also guarantees a retaliatory strike on your neighboring Gulf countries that have been suffering as a result of your actions. Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, no one's been safe. Iran and the IRGC have displayed there's no red lines in this conflict. Anybody's fair game. And what they have done effectively by doing that is they put Trump up against a wall. They've called his bluff. You want to hit us? No problem. We know it's a sinking ship. We know we'll lose this war militarily, but everybody will feel this as we're falling, and we'll bring everybody down with us as far as we can, especially Israel. By the way, do you think Israel won't be subject to target of Iranian strikes if we hit their power plant? You don't think they have their best and fastest, most capable missiles pointed at critical Israeli infrastructure that's responsible for oil, water, electricity, etc.? You damn better bet your ass they do. And so I think Trump realizes, besides the fact that he has to make these Truth Social posts to manipulate the market in his favor, get the stock market to come back to a reasonable point, NASDAQ, S&P, so on and so forth, as well as the fact that he can help oil stability, at least Brent crude, which I think it's somewhere around 112 right now. I haven't looked, but it's way too high. It usually hovers around $60. So anything over 100 is unacceptable, and then 120 is like emergency level. So with all this, Trump has to release these Truth Social posts, the 48-hour ultimatum, the we're reaching peace, the we're making progress, we're hitting Iran hard, we've destroyed this, we've killed this guy. He's got to do this for a greater good of stabilizing the markets. He has the power in doing that. He's the president. And it seems like every single time Trump does this, some sort of action follows, and it's usually on the weekends. So we'll see what happens on Saturday. I know Sneako, my brother, I saw them hint at the fact that boots on ground could happen as early as Saturday. Really just the amphibious vessel, that one being the USS Tripoli, our most capable one, by the way, is going to make it to the Persian Gulf or the Strait of Hormuz in the next day. That's what I'm reading out of these articles. That's what everybody is saying. And so these amphibious vessels, the USS Tripoli and another, as well as a few other ships, have a total of around 4,500 Marines, 4,500 Marine troops, expeditionaries, that are responsible for any style of warfare, really, whether that's boots on ground, fighting from the ship, whatever. And so I think Trump is trying to buy time in stabilizing the market until we make it there. What's the plan when we make it there? See, now this is where things can go several different ways. But the most important thing is this, and this is why I don't think there will be some sort of ceasefire. Pakistan, and I'll get to what I'm talking about as to what's going to happen when we make it there, but let me cover this first. Pakistan, obviously, if you hadn't seen, had offered to negotiate some sort of peace deal between Iran, the United States, kind of stabilize things, hopefully, at least get a ceasefire to happen. And Iran is saying, we're not doing it so long as Trump is still going to stand on this 15-point plan. If you don't know and you haven't been paying attention, since prior to this conflict, and honestly years before that, the United States, ever since we tarnished the JCPOA, which was the Iranian nuclear deal, which we halted or slowed down their enrichment of uranium, which is the quote-unquote biggest threat to our safety and sovereignty, by tarnishing that deal, and in return, we lifted sanctions. Since we got rid of that, we've been making unrealistic demands towards Iran, whilst also killing key military officials. Qasem Soleimani, as well as Hassan Nasrallah, both being the leaders of their proxy network that puts pressure on Israel. The reason why Iran is not going to come to the table is because we are likely asking, and it's kind of been arbitrary, right? Caroline Leavitt, who is the White House press secretary, has been speaking about what this 15-point deal entails, although there hasn't really been anything specified. I've seen different reports, I've seen different opinions, but I've kind of been paying attention to everything, and I can tell you what I can guarantee the United States is asking of Iran. One, your missiles program, you've got to nullify it. As we saw prior, Benjamin Netanyahu had made some crazy demand for Iran to significantly reduce the distance in which their missiles can travel, which would render them useless. If you don't know, Iran is huge. It's 4 times the size of Iraq. And so if these missiles can't make it out the country, why even have them? I can't remember the exact distance, but it was not a great distance, not one that could even exit the border of Iran currently. So we're making demands like nullifying their missiles program. We're making demands like stop funding your proxy networks. We're making demands like stop enriching uranium. And it's like, hey, they're not doing that. And this goes back to what I said in the beginning of the stream. They're not doing that because, and I have to address this. I don't want to keep cutting my own self off. I am not an Iranian apologist. I am not some pro-Islamist, Shia militant, LARPer. Why would Iran cut their legs off from under them? Why would they ever agree to destroying or stopping or immobilizing every asset they have that keeps them in existence, especially their proxy network? It has been the case. Israel has not been able to fight Iran effectively or topple their regime like they successfully have done to every other neighboring nation in the last 50 to 60, honestly, 70 years. They've done regime change everywhere. They've dealt their blows everywhere. They fulfilled their promises everywhere. Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, so on and so forth. And Iran has kind of always been the last man standing. And as time has been going on, Iran has been able to slowly build themselves up, put themselves in a position where if they are attacked, they can deal out a great amount of asymmetrical warfare, which they have done in these last 3 weeks. Clearly, they've displayed their capability to do that. And so we are asking them for maximalist demands. We're making maximalist demands. We're telling them to do things that would destroy their guarantee of existence or their guarantee of existence. And so we're not going to get anywhere with a peace talk. Maybe we'll have a ceasefire, but that ceasefire will cease to exist very quickly, so long as the fact that we don't actually come to the table with something that's reasonable. Now, one may ask, well, why don't we just make some sort of reasonable deal? Why don't we do what Obama did, like the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, in which the EU was on board, China, Russia, Spain, so many other countries were on board with this deal. It was actually very popular, except for one party that wasn't so happy about it. Of course, that was Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel. And the reason why is what I just stated. Israel is going to always get in the way because they don't want Iran to exist with some sort of nullified capability. They don't want the IRGC to exist and guarantee or promise that they won't strike Israel. They don't want them there at all. They want to completely eradicate the IRGC. What that does is it puts Donald Trump and the United States in a very difficult position because if we satisfy one party, we cannot satisfy the other. And so long as we are filling one purpose, there's going to be chaos in the other part. So we're doing the bidding of Israel, then we're at war with Iran. We're doing the bidding of Iran, then Israel is going to continuously beg us, continuously lobby our politicians, continuously sell us out, continuously subvert us, do what they've been doing effectively for the last 50 to 60 years, and bribe our positions of power, take control of positions of power, gain an immense amount of control in every aspect of American media, control, politics, influence, so on and so forth, whatever have you, in order to effectuate their goal, which is existence in that region, is the guarantee of safety for the Israeli state. So this is the problem. And in order to address such a difficult meaning of crossroads, you got to have a president who's going to say no. You've got to have a president who has a backbone here. Obviously, the last one to actually guarantee some sort of progress was Obama. I don't mean to give Obama all the credit. I call him Odrama because he's killed as many people as Bush, arguably more, in Libya, Syria, so on. But he did figure out something that was vital for the continuance, or at least an idea or a potentiality of continuance for peace in that region, a pivotal region being the Middle East. And as long as Israel and Iran are fighting or they're having tension, if we can mitigate that or rather mediate that, that gives us a position of power because we can police both of them. If we don't have the ability to police both of them, which, by the way, real soon, if we eradicate the IRGC, we won't, Israel will not need us. And if they don't need us, that's a little bit concerning because this is a country that's undermined us, that has framed us in attacks. Jundullah in 2004 and others. Shout out to Propaganda and Co. I was watching that video on stream the other day. And have done so many other things that I don't have the time to explain right now to betray our government, utilize their intelligence assets for the greater good of their country and the demonization of America. So when you ask yourself, why do these Muslims hate Americans? Why do these Muslims hate us? Why do they attack our democracy and our freedom? They don't care about that. They're sick and tired of us doing Israel's bidding in a region that they exist in. So that's where we kind of are there. Now, I'll get back to where I was, but that's the whole issue with the peace deal, right? Pakistan has tried. Doesn't look like it's going to be accepted. Iran has rejected. Iran is calling out Trump's lies. They're not going to negotiate unless we actually come to the table with something realistic. Obviously, we're not going to come to the table with something realistic. So this war is probably not going to stop just yet. If there's a ceasefire, I think it'll be short-lived. So we're on the way to Strait of Hormuz, obviously, with our Marine troops. And we've got to do something, not only to slow down their onslaught of missiles and their attacking of the Gulf countries, but of course to halt their nuclear capabilities, destroy their missile capabilities, or halt that, slow it down to a point where it's no longer a huge threat for the region, and so on. The problem is, if you've been paying attention, Iran has kind of been ready every single time we've done something, okay? Every single time the United States has tried to introduce some sort of plan to undermine the IRGC or go around the back door, Iran was right there waiting. We start first with the protests. And I can go back further, but just for the sake of relevance in this timeline, in the modern era, I'll start here. The protests start in the beginning of the year. Former director of the CIA, Trump's right-hand man, Mike Pompeo, doesn't make it hard for us to discern who's causing these protests. Why do I say that? Because he tweets that a Mossad agent is alongside every single Iranian protester, and other suggestions by Israeli media and so on. And so we know for a fact that these protests are astroturfed, as well as the fact that this is something we've historically done. This is what the CIA's specialty is. The United States is no stranger to launching some sort of revolution or coup d'etat motivated by our intelligence agency to overthrow a government for our greater purpose, or Israel's greater purpose, to plant an American or Israeli-favored back leader in said country. We did it in Latin America like 10 or 12 times. And that's just what we know. So that didn't work. Why? The IRGC shut that shit down. Immediately started killing people, started halting all of these protests, started nipping it in the bud. By the, I think, like 13 or 14 day mark, things had slowed down significantly and the protests lost all of their steam. Now, of course, the American media spun this like, look at what they're doing to the protesters. Look at how they're killing everybody. And although I won't lie, the IRGC is a brutal regime. They're not innocent. The reason for their brutality this time was because they smelled the agency of American favor within these protests, and Israeli favor, or really Israeli intelligence. And so they shut that shit down. Didn't work. Obviously, we made the first attempt in trying to effectuate regime change by launching undercover agents underground and having them rile up the people and overthrow the government. Yeah, this is not Puerto Rico, buddy. Not going to work in Iran. So fast forward. We try to have these peace talks, and we still keep making maximalist demands. And Foreign Minister of Iran, Abbas Araghchi, and Masoud Pezeshkian, which is the president, they're not having it. Obviously, our Middle Eastern envoy being Stephen Witkoff and Jared Kushner, by the way, great selection by our Trump administration to go talk to these people. They're talking, they're meeting in Oman, they're meeting in Geneva, and they're not really covering any ground. And it's because, again, as I stated earlier, our demands are unrealistic. Okay. Again, fast forward, we start the war with Iran. And I'm just really going through everything quickly here because I want to move on and get into everything that's been developing. There's a lot more news to cover, but I want to make sure I set this framework for everybody. So we strike Iran. Now, when we strike Iran, obviously we did it out of nowhere. We killed their leader, Khamenei. Interestingly enough, we did it during the daytime, but one could argue it was to catch them by surprise, to kill the leader. Maybe we knew where he would be during the daytime. I don't know, whatever intelligence go ahead may have been spoken about by Israeli intelligence and U.S. intelligence, but we struck during the daytime. Apparently caught them off guard. Immediately, within the hour, they strike back. They hit like 8 countries in the matter of 6 or 7 hours. I remember covering this with my brother. Every 10 seconds, there was a new tweet. Kuwait hit. Bahrain hit. Saudi Arabia, Riyadh being hit. We were in the Twitter spaces with Suleiman. And obviously we're getting the go-aheads because these guys have live Telegram coverage on the ground, which eventually graduated to the news. So this news was confirmed. They hit several countries in the matter of a few hours. This tells me Iran was ready. They had some sort of preemptive plan that if the United States hits us or if they kill their leader, they have this dead man switch activation. They have some sort of autonomous protocol that would happen. Regardless whoever says to do what, if we're attacked, this is what happens. And for the first week, they dealt a good damaging blow to the region. And you may say, well, Dubai is still safe and I've got family in Dubai. you got to realize a lot of this is rather theatrical or symbolic. The fact that they can penetrate the airspace of Israel, that utilizes our defense systems. Same thing in the Gulf countries. The fact that they can penetrate the airspace, hit critical infrastructure, hit our military bases, destroy our missile defense systems, shows something that the United States cannot afford to be exposed on. We're not impenetrable. We can, in fact, get hit with Iranian-made missiles. So that sends a message across the entire world. Wow, is the United States as impenetrable as they seem to be? Is their military spending really going in the right direction? That's why it's so damaging, as well as the fact that Donald Trump comes out later and says he did not expect these strikes to happen. He didn't know that the GCC would be directly hit. And at the beginning of this war, Mohammed bin Salman and others, he's kind of like the leader of the GCC, but several Gulf countries had said, we don't really want to be too involved. We want peace in the region. And now they're joining the fight. Why are they joining the fight? Because they've realized Iranian missiles deal a big blow. Iranian drones pose a huge threat. Iran having control of the Strait of Hormuz is detrimental because their oil goes through that 20-mile wide passageway. So as long as this crazy military, religiously motivated regime has control of this critical passageway and has beef with the United States, which isn't going to end anytime soon, as well as Israel. You have beef with Israel, you have beef with the U.S. We've got to topple this regime. So now they're on board. Okay? So you fast forward again. You look at every single different instance here. And I went over this in a video with my brother. We spoke about this on live. It seems like Iran is kind of ready. They're ready to deal, maybe not an even blow because we've destroyed a lot of their infrastructure and we've dominated their airspace, but they'll hit us in the knees. They'll hit us low where it hurts. They're effectively kicking us in the balls. You know, we're punching them in the face. They're kicking us in the balls. And it's like, that's a cheap shot. What the hell? But it works. So that's where we currently are. That's kind of how we got to where we are right now, 3-week mark. By the way, the Trump administration, all these MAGA shills said it would only be 3 days. It'd only be 4 days. And then it went to 2 weeks. Or really, it started at 1 week. Then it went to 2 weeks. Then it went to 3 weeks. We're entering our 4th week. And the IRGC still stands strong. Trump is saying, well, we're talking with, who are you talking with? Because the IRGC has said in several statements now that I'm reading, it's come out now today, they didn't speak to anybody. And they're not about to go to Pakistan. Why would they have a peace talk or a discussion for further plans of ceasefire with us when we were in the process of doing that, and when we were graduating to the next stage, we just bombed them? It shows that the United States is operating in bad faith. We don't really want to have any sort of diplomacy with them. We want to decapitate their regime. And this is what Benjamin Netanyahu wants. The man who visited Washington 7 times inside of a year pretty much had motivated Trump to do. And my brother highlights this, the most recent time, the final time in Washington being through the back door of the White House. And so there was something conspicuous and inconspicuous about it, whatever you want to say. The fact of the matter is Benjamin Netanyahu has been all in Donald Trump's ear getting him to do this. And what better time for Trump to start this than when the Epstein files are out? What's the only thing that can distract the American population from the fact that their government was kind of being compromised by an Israeli asset or a foreign asset, that being Jeffrey Epstein, and the fact that they did pedophilic things and demonic things, and there's all these files and all these photos and videos, whatever. What could possibly shield President Trump from dealing with that long term, or at least distract people? It's a full-fledged war in the Middle East. Go to the news now. Try to find a story on Epstein. Type in Epstein. You're really not going to find much. You had the Clintons doing their testimony. No one paid attention. No one cared. Everybody wants to see what's going to happen in the Middle East. Understandably so. That's a pivotal region. We've spent years there. We've spent trillions of dollars there. In Iraq, in Syria, in Libya, and so on. We've toppled regimes there. Weapons of mass destruction, war on terror. The American populace is very familiar with this region. We've been there plenty of times. We spent lots of time there. Our key personnel has been there. So it was opportunistic for Trump to take the bait at this point. Do I think he was eventually going to do it? Probably, because I think that's what he was lobbied for. I think that's always been the motivation with Trump, because why get into office and then destroy this Iran nuclear deal that's going to guarantee some sort of diplomacy with Iran? By the way, if we have diplomacy with Iran, then we can actually make some sort of maximalistic demand, like, hey, pull back on the proxies and we'll give you more money. Pull back on the proxies, we'll put you into this world organization. Pull back on the proxies, we'll give you military security. That could have been possible because they were happy to come to the table with Barack Obama. They said, okay, no problem. We've just been waiting for an American leader to actually have some sense. We'll talk to you. These are relatively reasonable people. These are Persians. They're not Arabs, but they're smart. And they're not going to let anybody undermine them. And if they're going to lose a war, they're going to lose while taking something down with them. You know? So that's kind of the long and short of how we got here. And there's more I want to talk about because now Israel's given this 48-hour command, to destroy tons of infrastructure and whatever. But I want to read chats for a second because I don't like to let these pile up. But, you know, I've just been really upset, I'll be honest, because me and my brother work so hard to give you guys real-time coverage, tell you what's going on. And people have the gall and the nerve to say, Trump's doing a good thing. Trump is liberating the United States. Trump is liberating Israel. Trump is giving peace to the Middle East. He's ridding the last remnants of terrorism. You idiot. This exact action is what is going to breed more and more terrorism. The anti-American sentiment that comes from the Muslim world is due to our incompetence in destroying their region. So, and I spoke about it earlier, so I won't repeat myself, but it's like, bro, I've had it. So I said tonight I'm going to do a little bit more of a deeper breakdown because how did we get here and why are we here? It's important questions. I had like 3 articles, bro. I didn't mean to go on that long. Okay. Sorry. Let's see. Let's take the chats. Shout out to all you guys in here. Okay. Chief Taro, welcome to the membership squad. Thank you so much, man. Welcome to Riyadh squad. God bless you. Appreciate the support. Is Myron at OU curious if you will be out at bars? At bars? Yeah, my brother's the last person to be out at a bar. But yeah, he is going there now. You can check out all the live updates with Uncensored America. Wilder says, Trump underestimated Iran. If we send troops, boom, boom, boom. Going to be a terrible day. Love the content. Stay locked in. Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you for the super chat. I'm about to get into that in a moment. Downtown says, we know Trump is not pulling out of this war. So what is the best and worst case scenario from this war, in your opinion, Riyadh? I'm going to get into that right now. Great question. Thank you for the super chat. Myron Gaines. Hey, what's going on, bro? Shout out to Myron in the chat. Big bro is here. Thank you. Thanks for the $6 a month, man. Is it 6 or 7? What did I make it? I don't even know the membership price. But thanks, Myron. Thanks, big bro. By the way, same guy who funded this whole setup. Cam 2 times. Thank you so much for the membership. Thank you. Welcome to the squad. Zeno says, incredibly well spoken, concise, and articulate knowledge. I have been learning an immense amount from you and Myron. Riyadh, my brother, keep doing what you do, man. I, as well as many others, truly appreciate you. Hey, man, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat. That means a lot. Bank Hill, Dave, shout out to Bank Hill, Davesters, and Zeno for joining the squad. Shout out to you guys. Much love. Don DeMarco. Appreciate the love, man. Appreciate the love. Yeah, it's just like, I know a lot of people agree. And hey, Star Gamer, welcome to the membership, bro. Thank you. Where was I? Yeah, it's just frustrating because it's increasingly obvious. But we'll get into this article by Times of Israel. And this reads, Israel concerned Trump could stop war suddenly, is trying to wipe out Iran's arms industry within 48 hours. I see a couple people telling me to check out the White House on X. So we'll check that very quickly. And we got some stuff we'll react to. We'll have fun. I'm not seeing anything. What am I missing? Give me 1 second. Somebody said check out what the White House just posted. I don't see it. What is this? Sound on? What is this?
It's launching soon, right? It's launching soon, right?
Oh, what is this? Is this in reference to the war? What kind of vague post is this? What is it here? Sorry, guys. I'm like trying to figure out what it is before I put it on screen. Is this what the hell? Yeah, this is their account. This is the White House's account, and they just posted this video. Sound on, it says. This is a Snapchat caption.
It's launching soon, right?
Okay. Is this in reference to the war? Someone said you can't even run a Twitter account, much less a country. Not sure what that is. Yeah, I guess that's in reference to the war. Look, we'll get into something similar to that right now. Really weird. And you got Trump deploying National Guard to the airports and ICE. Bro's just having fun with it. Bro just is like, hey, I'm president. I'm just going to do shit. Okay. So check this out. So I want to go over, we'll cover the peace plan first. Actually, I kind of covered this. We'll go into this this is from New York Times, but it's reported by Times of Israel. So make my thing a little smaller here. So this says, Israel concerned Trump could stop war suddenly, is trying to wipe out Iran's arms industry within 48 hours. Now, this is a big deal. And before I read it, I just want to tell you why. Apparently, according to Pete Hegseth and according to Donald Trump, we've been wiping Iran clean. We've been destroying their infrastructure. We've destroyed much of their missile capability. And we're dealing a great blow. We're making a dent in the IRGC. Killed all their leadership. And had that been the case, why is Israel so worried about utilizing these next 2 days to further nullify their military capability? If you had been doing what Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth had been boasting about so proudly for the last 2 weeks, well, then there shouldn't be some sort of last desperate grab for a 2-day approach in wiping out their arms industry. So clearly, we have not made the progress we have so boldly claimed to have made, at least in the last 3 weeks as this war has been going. And it's obvious. It's because not only was Iran gearing up from the previous strikes in June that they knew would continue or return, and so they have a stockpile of weapons and munitions most likely, but as well as the fact that much of it is underground and we haven't done much to really address that issue. And what does Benjamin Netanyahu say to the press the other day? He says, well, for this war, there's going to have to be a ground element if we want to reach our goals. Obviously, his goal being to destroy the IRGC, to remove their nuclear enrichment capabilities, remove their nuclear abilities, regime change, right? But he says there has to be a ground element. But he says, I'm not going to take the liberty in saying how that ground element is going to happen. So it's all going to come together in a moment here. But we'll read this. So this reads, Israel is working to urgently hit as many high priority targets in Iran as it can due to concerns that U.S. President Donald Trump could end the war suddenly. The New York Times reports citing 2 senior Israeli officials and 2 people briefed on the matter. According to the report, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Tuesday instructed the military to take out as much of Iran's industry as possible in the coming 48 hours. Netanyahu and Israel's security chiefs do not believe that Trump's 15-point plan would ensure that the Iran nuclear and ballistic missile threat is removed. Here's the problem. And this is something that I haven't really seen anybody say yet. This is the issue that we're in now. We're stuck. Because if Trump somehow manages diplomacy, as he says, there's nobody left to even talk to from Iranian officials because they've killed everybody, but whatever. If we can manage diplomacy with Iran in the coming 48 hours, in the coming days, which is unlikely because we have 4,500 Marines on their way that will arrive in the next 2 days. And so what the hell are they going for? It's to secure the Strait of Hormuz, which is destroying our country's oil prices, destroying really Trump's look optically on the international stage. But here's the problem. We kind of don't have an option that's going to silence Israel and silence the problem. Israel's going to make sure this war stays relevant. They're going to make sure that the United States can't walk away from this. We've gotten started already. We've already started, and we've already covered ground, really, from a perspective of damaging their infrastructure. Israel's gotten the go-ahead to hit their oil refineries and so on. And so we've still dealt a decent blow. Don't get it twisted, right? But you think Benjamin Netanyahu, the guy who, by the way, his word goes, clearly, because we're in this war, you think he's going to let this just end all of a sudden? Do you think he's going to allow a ceasefire? Why would he allow Iran to recollect themselves? Now, I will say the only reason why a ceasefire could benefit maybe Israel in this situation is because their stockpile of defensive missiles have been low. And so if you get a small ceasefire, Israel can build back up their THAAD systems, build back up their missile interceptors, which, by the way, are very expensive, get those back to a replenished level where they can justifiably defend their airspace for the next few months or several weeks, whatever it may be, and then resume. But honestly, at this point, I would just imagine that the momentum we have needs to be carried into a boots-on-ground invasion, which would probably happen this weekend as the Marines' estimated timeline lines up with that, as well as the fact that every major development has been on a weekend. So obviously, if Trump has any sort of regrets, if Trump kind of just wants to exercise diplomacy and stay in Cold War with Iran and pull out the airstrikes and the air power and the military, Benjamin Netanyahu is going to ensure that can't happen. Another really bad factor. The Gulf countries have now all vowed to join Israel. I know they haven't said that explicitly, but this is what it is. Join Israel in toppling the IRGC, because now they've realized that the IRGC poses a much larger threat than they had once realized because of the fact that they've been getting hit nonstop, civilian infrastructure, airports, shutting down airspace, drones coming out of nowhere, hitting hotels, probably targeted for American intelligence personnel, Israeli intelligence personnel, and the fact that they've been hitting their oil refineries. Okay, and this slows down, obviously, the production of oil, Aramco in Saudi Arabia, and so on. And so you got that, coupled with the fact that they're closing off the passageway in which this oil is delivered out of the Gulf. These Gulf countries now realize this is a problem in their region that they never really understood the magnitude of. They realized Iran could seriously destroy our economic state in the matter of a few months if they continue to do this, and this could resume at any time. Trump pulls out, Iran's not going to agree to any of our maximalist demands that's going to actually cause for peace, and so there's no guarantee that Israel won't just start a war again. And so not only is Netanyahu all in, the Gulf countries seem to now be all in because they've been subject to Iranian missiles. So now we're in a tough position. If we pull out, we're leaving Israel and the Gulf countries for dead. What does that do to our relationships in the Middle East, primarily these Gulf countries that we benefit from? Trump met with Qatar officials in the beginning of the year. They gave us trillions of dollars. They invest so much money. Hell, even a school here in Connecticut, I think UNH, opened a campus, University of New Haven to be exact, opened a campus in Qatar or Saudi Arabia, one of the two countries. So the United States, and honestly, Trump has been really good in sharing a close and key relationship with these Middle Eastern leaders. Trump doesn't care about the whole Khashoggi scandal or the whole Khashoggi incident or that controversy where apparently the leader of Saudi Arabia chopped up some journalists, whatever. And I don't want to talk about that because I want to be able to get into that country again. But, Trump doesn't really care. Biden condemned it about it. Biden was kind of severing relations with him or skewing relations. And so Trump came in and kind of fixed the relation with Mohammed bin Salman. But now, he's in a tough position. What is he going to do? Is he going to leave these countries for dead? Is he going to do a temporary ceasefire, allow Israel to kind of recoup and then start again? There's no surefire way we can just remove ourselves from this conflict indefinitely now or for good. That's the real issue. And this is telling because Israel is trying to exacerbate what could be a ceasefire. Now, the Marines are on the way anyways, and they're going to make it to the Strait of Hormuz. Obviously, they've got some sort of plan, and for every single plan that we've had, as I've stated earlier, it seems like Iran has a card up their sleeve. If you don't think that they've got that Karg Island, which is an island 16 miles off of the Persian land, inside of the Persian Gulf, right off of the coast of Iran, which is responsible for oil infrastructure, oil refining, military capabilities, military creation, whatever it is, they have that island likely right now as fortified as it has ever been. And that's probably because these amphibious assault groups, the USS Tripoli, really primarily, and these 4,500 Marines, in whatever their mission entails, at some point will involve attacking or launching an invasion on Karg Island, using it as a base to move forward into the region or forward into the country, whatever it may be, as well as special forces that may be operating somewhere else that we don't know about. And so Iran is definitely ready. Here's the thing. Trump is saying the United States and Iran is going to work to have some joint plan where we both operate and control the Strait of Hormuz. Now, although that sounds nice and at face value, it's like, yeah, maybe that could happen. The problem is Iran has critically and recently realized, or they probably have always known, and so this has been up their sleeve, their trump card really, no pun intended, that the Strait of Hormuz is the biggest piece or the biggest vantage point of leverage in this war. Obviously, they're outmatched on every front. Iran is, because they're fighting two countries, and both of these countries have far more military sophistication than they'd have. Although Iran is a formidable foe, they've been able to deal a great deal of damage just with this strait. So why would they share their biggest weapon with the United States? Who's to say, after betraying them for years and years, that we'll share the strait and then be hands off? No, we'd share the strait and then ensure we have complete control of it, and then probably go to topple the IRGC entirely. That's what we would do, based on pattern recognition, based on the trajectory of the way things have been going these last few months or really years. And so this idea that Trump has been flirting with, I think on Truth Social and other reports, is that we're going to manage the Strait of Hormuz together, and so we'll open it back up and everything will be fine again. It's like, why would Iran give up their biggest asset? That's foolish. That's foolish. That has been the primary motive in getting you to freak out and go into a frenzy on Truth Social, which optically makes it look like they're winning. So, and the cherry on top is, no countries want to get involved within NATO, which is why you're trying to gaslight them all, calling them paper tigers on Truth Social. None of those countries want to get involved. And you've got the Gulf countries who are saying, we're going to fight alongside with you. But what the fuck are the Gulf countries? They don't pose some sort of military threat that's mighty enough to scare Iran. They're fighting the United States and Israel. At this point, they might as well fight the whole world. That's what they are fighting. The United States is the strongest country from a military perspective than the next 5 countries combined, damn near. We have so many aircraft carriers, the most. I think the country next to us is Russia. We have like 8 more than them, 10 more than them, something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. And so it's like, bro, no one else is going to help in this conflict, and they're not going to give up their biggest weapon. And they're making you look like a fool on the global stage. So what I think will happen is we're going to have to be aggressive in our boots on ground invasion. Because the Strait of Hormuz is not just going to be this diplomatic deal that ensures countries can pass through. Now, Japan and others have gone through the back door and said, yo, we don't want nothing to do with this war. Just let our shit pass through. And maybe Iran has made some sort of, or exploited some sort of financial gain on this. Another W in their book, as well as the fact that we lifted sanctions on them to relieve some oil pressure. Another W in their book, as well as the fact that currently they're still able to export oil to China. The only argument you could have made to be in favor of this war, at least geostrategically, is the fact that they would stop exporting oil to China, China being our adversary, whatever it is, arbitrarily, because honestly, we're going to meet with China. Trump had said on Truth Social he's going to meet with the Prime Minister of China in May. And so, like, who knows if they're even our biggest adversary now. Maybe Trump will create some sort of diplomacy with them. But the biggest argument you had was the fact that, you know, we could stop this oil export to China. If you don't know, China is able to exploit oil from Iran, or Iran for their oil, because of the fact that it's so dirt cheap. Because Iran's inflation is record high. It's through the roof. And so China can get this oil for cheap, and Iran can still get this money, although it doesn't do much for their economy and their government, which is why there's dissatisfaction from the public. They can at least fund their proxy groups, and they can at least fund their missiles program, which is what has kept them in existence to this day. And it kept them in this war fighting like a dog for so long. So I don't know what Israel's really planning to do. We're already, I think, a good way into these 48 hours that they're claiming. I don't know what they're going to target. But understand that Israel is the most prioritized in terms of defensive airspace for the United States. A Saudi official had said in the beginning of this war, it's clear that the United States is over-prioritizing Israeli airspace over ours, which is why Riyadh is getting hit, Qatar is getting hit, Bahrain, so on. And so Israel can fight this war on their own accord and do things without really U.S. involvement directly, and cause the Gulf countries to suffer as a result, but maybe not pay for it as much because they've got the prioritization in the defense systems. Again, I'm just giving you every single angle as to why this is in Iranian favor. Now, if we do deploy boots on the ground, which again, like I said, could happen as early as this weekend, I would hope not. There's a chance it couldn't. Maybe we'll chill out in the Strait of Hormuz for a little bit, just develop a presence there, try to work out diplomacy. That's the best case scenario. But the only way to kind of cover ground at this point is from the boots on ground perspective. That's the only avenue we have not taken. That's the only option we have not exercised until this point. So that's where that is, okay? Hopefully that all kind of makes sense. I'll read chats in a moment here. I don't like to let too many of these jump on. I don't want to interrupt the monologue, but I want to make sure I get into these chats. But yeah, that's kind of the situation. I have a couple more articles I want to read here. Okay. Let's see. Let's start from the top. Star Gamer, thank you for joining. I think I said that already. Howard, thank you, bro. Thank you so much for the super chat. Justified misogyny. If they take out Netanyahu, very funny, does this end? They won't, to be honest with you. You know, you could do the what if game, I get it, but they likely won't. They likely won't. And it wouldn't end, really. I'm sure they have some sort of succession in leadership. Chief Tarot just subscribed, although he is fighting here for his position of power. And I was reading that today. Chief Tarot just subscribed. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, my friend, for the super chat. Lotus, welcome to the group. OSS Mall, thank you for the 5 gifted. Appreciate that, bro. And then the other gifted, thank you so much. Let's see. Shooter McDabbin 8557 says, keep doing your thing, broski. 07. No slash, guys. We're on YouTube. Careful. Thank you so much, my friend. Appreciate that. D Sally W commentary. Hey, thank you so much, bro. Chad Miller with the sticker, 49 bucks. Hey, thanks so much for the $50, bro. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. And then Goose Mehling. Forget he doesn't drink. Bars are all we have. Oh, yeah, in Ohio? Yeah, what the hell is in Ohio? Thanks for the super chat. You're talking about my brother, right? Bro, I know I'm in Connecticut, so I'm one to talk, but like, what the hell is in Ohio? Ain't shit in Ohio. Bro, ain't a damn thing in Ohio. You had LeBron, now you don't even have that. It's like, what do you have in Ohio? But yeah, it's funny. It's funny that you recognize that. At least the Ohioans are honest with themselves. Anyways, I know a lot of you guys may have been watching my brother earlier today or yesterday, but I really didn't get a chance to watch Dave Smith versus Adam Sosnick. Is that how you say his last name? Sosnick, whatever. So Adam Sosnick is from PBD, Patrick Bet-David Network. And their show, he does a podcast with Patrick Bet-David. Obviously, they've been horrendous on this war coverage. They've been terrible. Their views are actually down because they're not being honest. They're not being honest. And like I said, it really is telling as to what side everybody's on. Now Patrick Bet-David is kind of like pulling back. He's kind of saying things along the lines of, well, you know, I don't want this war with Iran. I'm not going to try to impersonate him. Patrick Bet-David is kind of saying things along the lines of he doesn't want to see U.S. soldiers die. Well, it's like, hey, what did you think? What did you think would happen? What did you think would happen? Are you... I think PBD is like smarter. He's not dumb. He's not dumb. I don't believe he's dumb. Donald Trump was obviously dumb enough. And we know he's not the smartest guy in the room, okay? Big, bright orange guy. He's funny. He's witty. He's got a lot of charisma. Lots of aura. Pop star in the 90s. But Donald Trump is not a politician by any means. That's why he campaigns better than he actually runs the country. We know that. But Donald Trump had thought before starting this war, we're going to launch a strike in Iran, or we're going to involve the Mossad, and it's all going to be over. It's going to be 2 days. It's going to be the quickest thing you've ever seen. And what happens? It's week 4, and we're about to deploy 4,500 Marines into the region. Talk about accurate. Talk about political literacy by our own president, the commander-in-chief. So, you know, Patrick Bet-David kind of echoed the same sentiment. He said that the Shah regime, which is the previous kind of secular-ish regime prior to the Ayatollah happening, the Islamic Revolution in 1979, prior to that was the Shah regime. By the way, we kind of effectuated that issue in the first place. We got involved, Operation Ajax, so on and so forth. But the fact of the matter is he wanted this new regime from a result of this war to be the dream regime. You know, Iran will come back. The Persian people will take their country back. All these secular Persians and Iranians will no longer be subject to this Islamic revolution that's violent and it has an Islamist terroristic mentality and so on and so forth. And it's like, okay, fine, whatever. You can have that opinion. You could want that to happen. I don't care. I really could care less. I have no dog in that fight. The problem is that that's not going to happen. And you banking on that possibility is going to kill U.S. personnel. That's going to kill our soldiers because what seemed like a 2-day process has now become potentially a forever war. Yeah, I'll go as far as to even say that. And how do I know that? Because intelligence assets have met in Florida in preparation of a 100-day conflict. And the IRGC has stated already that they're going to drag this out until the midterms. And they're going to fight hard to do that. They're on their homeland. They're in their home turf. They've got home court defense. Okay? They've got home court advantage, whatever sports term you want to use here. But you can liken it to this situation, as well as the fact that Iran is a brutal area in terms of landscape. It's got mountains, it's got vast deserts, it's got snow on the top of these mountains, and we've seen historically, if you pay attention to the patterns, U.S. military personnel and our special ops have struggled in said regions or similar regions like Iraq, but worse, Afghanistan. Taliban, Pashtuns, whatever, they've all killed so much U.S. personnel, and effectively we never really covered any ground there. You know, the Afghanis run around and say, we beat the United States. We're the only country to beat the United States. They plant a Hummer on top of a flagpole. And why are we bidding this war? It's all based on this like neocon propaganda sentiment that has existed since the 90s. You know, you got the clean break memo, but even prior to that, it's always been propagated, by the way, by Benjamin Netanyahu. This guy's been in power for a long time. And it's always been his goal to topple these regimes, which is why this 48-hour ultimatum or this 48-hour plan of military attack against Iranian arms is so crucial. It's such a big deal because it shows that Netanyahu is not about to let this ship sail just yet. He's going to fight as hard as he can to keep the United States involved. This is what people mean when they say Israel is a hazard for us morally, because we have maybe one goal. We're not as extreme as them. We support them, but they take it to another level. And maybe we don't get to that level, but Netanyahu or the IDF do something to force us to that level. And that's what Netanyahu's going to do here. He's echoed this for years. I played a compilation on stream the other day. He's echoed for years. You got to take out the Palestinian leaders. You got to take out Yahya Sinwar. You got to take out all of these Hamas officials, by the way, that have been willing to deal diplomatically in places like Qatar. And then what did Israel do? They bombed Qatar. This is an example. They go a step ahead of the United States, don't give us the go-ahead, and they bombed Qatar in target to kill Hamas officials, which they didn't successfully do. And then Donald Trump is outraged. And whether he's in on it or not, God knows best, right? Who knows? But it's like, what the hell are you doing? By the way, after they bombed Qatar, that pushed one of our greatest allies in terms of leadership in the Middle East, who is the custodian of the Middle East, the custodian of the two holy mosques, one of the most powerful and richest men in the world, Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince of Saudi Arabia, after Israel displayed there's no red lines and they bombed Qatar and gave a half-ass apology, by the way, he went and did a deal with Pakistan. He said, fuck that, I'm not looking to the U.S. no more. Do you see how this is a problem? Do you see how this can wind up destroying the United States in the next 20 or 30 years? Yeah, that soon. People are saying 5 to 10, bit of a stretch. 10 to 20, 30. Now that's getting real. That's getting real. I could go on and on for days, but like, I think I've driven the point home, you know? So Iran's never going to give that straight up, bro. They're never going to give that Strait of Hormuz up. I doubt it. And I tweeted this, but you know, let's see. What tweet was I going to pull up? And I'll give some updates as to what's happening on the ground, you know, as I've been monologuing forever. But so recently, this was a few hours ago, 6 Arab nations just issued a joint statement against Iran. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, UAE, Bahrain, and Jordan collectively condemned the Iranian attacks in the strongest terms, invoking the UN Charter and Article 51's right to self-defense. They also called out Iranian sleeper cells and Hezbollah-linked networks operating inside their countries. The statement demanded Iraq shut down militia attacks launching from its territory and reserved the right to take all necessary measures to protect their sovereignty. Again, this comes after their statement that was conjoined the other day by these same countries, and really the GCC as a whole, is that they're going to fight back. They're going to join the fight with the United States against Iran. Now, something that concerns me, I didn't speak about this yet. I spoke about this previously on stream, but it's starting to manifest into potential reality here. Now, it's just speculative. It may not be real. It may not be true, but I want to make sure that I graze over this and so that people can understand and prepare for it. I want to graze over it. I don't want to gloss over it, but I want to make sure you understand this. If there's any time that a false flag would happen, it would be now. You know, now, obviously, historically, U.S. false flags are always to motivate us into a conflict rather than further justify the midst of being in a conflict. But right now, Trump's approval rating is record low. Okay. Now, do Iranian sleeper cells exist? Yeah, obviously they do. But Iran is kind of like stretched wide and thin right now. You got Tucker Carlson talking about Mossad agents were caught planting bombs in Qatar and Saudi Arabia. I don't know how true that is. I wouldn't like to think that he's lying about that. Historically, Mossad has done these kinds of things just to justify a war further. So this is what I'm thinking. If a ceasefire happens, right, which it's plausible, Now, is the war going to just end and then we're done? No, it's it. We're in it now. But if a ceasefire happens, I would like to think, and I hate this, I don't want this to be reality, but I would like to think the reality or the possibility of a false flag attack increases significantly. Okay? Whether that's on U.S. soil or on Gulf soil, who knows where it would be? But the fact of the matter is, it's likely. Israel has more than enough of a capability to carry that out and cover their tracks very well. They're amazing at doing that. Even the CIA can do that. Now, for those who think that this is like a conspiracy, false flag attacks are real. A direct example of that is in the 60s, Operation Northwoods, when the CIA, Joint Chiefs of Staff, presented to the Secretary of Defense, I think it was Secretary of Defense at the time, but the Joint Chiefs of Staff pretty much presented to John F. Kennedy a plan to launch a full-fledged false attack, false flag, full-scale attack that would look like it's coming from Cuba in order to justify eradicating Soviet presence in our Caribbean, that being in, of course, Cuba. If you didn't know, Fidel Castro and the leader of the time of the Soviet Union, I cannot remember the name, Nikita Pazhevsky, let's see how good my memory is, something like that. They were becoming closely aligned. This is before the Cuban Missile Crisis. The United States needed a reason to kind of eradicate any sort of Soviet influence because it did pose a threat in our hemisphere. So John F. Kennedy had this plan presented to him on his desk at the Oval Office, whatever it is, and he said no. And he wasn't a fan of the CIA. We all know that. He said, I want to shatter 2,000 pieces, whatever, all this stuff. Point is, the United States has attempted, this is all declassified, this is factual. We've attempted false flag attacks to try and launch some sort of regime change. And the plan was methodical in regards to Operation Northwoods. I haven't looked into it into a while, and so I can't remember off the top of my head all the intricacies and details, but we were going to stage an airline hijacking. We were going to bomb certain key locations within the United States, and we were going to blame it on the Cubans or the Soviets to justify an attack and eventually undermine the Soviet or rather really the Cuban leader, Fidel Castro. And the Bay of Pigs invasion, everybody knows, we tried to take a bunch of Cuban exiles, train them by the CIA, and then launch some sort of coup d'etat revolution. Didn't work. They got caught. John F. Kennedy tried to act like it wasn't him. Probably the biggest blunder of his career, his short-lived career as president. So you've got all that. This exists. The reason why I'm telling you this is because you got to understand the United States, rather the CIA, really operates independent of morality. They do whatever needs to be done in order to motivate a war or to effectuate other countries to join us in the cause. NATO has not been willing to join us in this mission of eradicating Iranian influence in the Middle East and primarily destroying their nuclear enrichment and then toppling their regime in totality. That's the Israeli plan, at least, or the Israeli motive. Who's to say that maybe a false flag attack will be introduced to bring these countries on board? Now, is the world more ready for something like this than ever before? Yeah, but it's still not ready enough. We're the most woke we've ever been, but we're not woke enough. And I expressed that early in the stream as to how many people are not understanding what I have been explaining these last 2 months or month and a half. So that's just something that I wanted to quickly go over. When I read this, they also have Iranian sleeper cells planted inside the Gulf countries. It starts to really get dicey. That's when the problem becomes multi-faceted, multi-optional, kind of like this can go in like 30 different ways. Whether it's the Gulf countries launching these attacks or the United States or Israel, whatever it is. I'm not trying to be a conspirator here, but this is real. And that's something you got to pay attention to and be ready for, because you don't want to fall for it again. You don't want to fall for it again. So we'll any other articles to read here? I'll read chats if there's any new ones, and then we'll kind of get into this PBD display of it's just terrible. Patrick Bet-David and Adam have been horrible. Adam's always been horrible, and no one likes him. But it's like lately, it's just been insufferable. So yeah, that's kind of where we are. Hopefully that all makes sense, guys. It's kind of everything I wanted to go over. I believe I kind of covered everything. Didn't miss anything. But key takeaways is boots on ground can happen as soon as Saturday. Look, even if these Marines are on these amphibious vessels like the USS Tripoli and others, as long as they're present in the Strait of Hormuz, present in the Persian Gulf, or present close to Karg Island, then that's boots on ground. We're going to have to get through the Strait of Hormuz first, because I believe the Karg Island is located 300 miles inwards. Am I correct on that? I can't remember. But Karg Island is very deep inside of the passageway. And so we're going to have to get through that first, which is already going to prove to be difficult because they've got complete control of that strait. And they're familiar geographically with that area more than we are. This is their homeland. Again, we saw the same thing in previous wars in the Middle East. And so how prepared are they? What sneaky tricks do they have up their sleeves? The Persians have displayed their IQ. The Iranian regime have displayed that they know how to undermine U.S. firepower despite being so outmatched and still deal a great blow and make us feel it. You don't think that will be our reality? You don't think that will surface when we launch these Marines into the region, into the Gulf? You got another thing coming. I hope it doesn't get to this stage, but with the whole 48 hours with Israel, with Trump trying to lie, and this is what we've been doing. We say something and then we do something else. So at this point, it's kind of like the writing is on the wall, you know? And Trump's been throwing shit at the wall and just hoping it'll stick. Nothing's really stuck. Netanyahu's not satisfied. He says there has to be boots on ground. Just pay attention, people. The writing is on the wall here. Okay? Okay, Chat's really quick, and then we'll watch the video. Love to hear myself talk. Sorry, guys. Okay. Lotus says, yo, Riyadh, big fan. Love your content. Your takes are on point. Keep up the great work. Hey, thank you, bro. 1K people watching. That's from Peruvian Hayes. Thank you so much for the super chat. Yeah, shout out to you guys. 1K people in here. 1K people watching with only 500 likes. Smash the like button. Hey, thanks, Peruvian. You sound like Myron. You're on top of it. Appreciate that. Yeah, like the video, guys. Please. That helps me so much more than anything else. So thank you so much for the support. Oh, okay. Sorry, wait. Maybe I didn't catch all the chats. Oops. Rookie streamer over here. Goofball streamer. Multi-Taylor, $123, $50. Appreciate your intake on the war. First time catching you live. You and Myron are a dynamic duo when it comes to political information. Keep it up, brother. Hey, thank you so much, bro. Appreciate the super chat. Much love, man. Support means everything. Chad Miller with the sticker. I think that's everything. Yeah, we're all caught up. Better be all caught up. Shout out to Tony, man. Shout out to my nigga Tony. Appreciate the love, bro. All right, let's take a look at this. This is just going to be like, now we're having fun. Okay, now it's not serious. We're going to have fun because Adam is a clueless idiot. He knows nothing. He's been wrong on everything the last... Actually, he's just never been right. So, we'll watch this. We'll have fun. He is a Zionist. He didn't know. So, let's play it from here and see what we got. Okay.
Let's get to broad disagreement, I suspect, which is the way this war is playing out. I mean, Dave, I've really struggled to work out the upside for Donald Trump from the start of this. Doing this so close to the midterms, doing exactly what he said he wouldn't do, which is he was going to stop, attacking Middle Eastern countries. It was all going to be America first, a premium on sorting out American problems in America. And then suddenly he launches a war on one of the biggest countries in the Middle East, certainly one of the best armed. And all hell has broken loose, not least to the global economy, which is inevitably going to have, and already is having, a very detrimental effect on living.
Which, again, is why he's been going crazy on Truth Social to try and manipulate these astronomical prices, right? Trump has been taking to Truth Social to use his presidential power. He's the most powerful man in the world. And so it's on him to try to calm the masses and give a false sentiment of peace or the fact that we've graduated to a new step in negotiations. But doesn't really help for too long when you got Iran saying back that we have not even spoken to anybody. So it's short-lived. And again, Donald Trump is offering very short-term solutions to a long-term issue. As my brother says, he's really just bandaging a boat that has a leak in the middle of the ocean. It's just not going to do much over time. So let's see. There is reports that Trump maybe wants to shift away and focus on Cuba. But Cuba is just not really going to take much. Like, Cuba's not Iran. Like, that'd be an easy regime change. The country's been in a blackout anyways. They have a shortage of oil because of Venezuela. We stopped Venezuelan oil and being exported to Cuba when we overthrew that regime. So Cuba is like a sitting duck just waiting to be destroyed. Honestly, I don't think it'll even take any sort of aggression. That might just be done diplomatically. So there's a potential reality in that. The United States has been obsessed with Cuba for a long time. They've been this pocket of communism, right, in our hemisphere. But honestly, that's like not even relevant anymore. Russia's got their hands tied. Cuba's not a threat to us. So now, should we create relations with Cuba, exploit them for our own good to some degree? Yeah, we can do that diplomatically, but it's like time and place, bro. Right now, that's a non sequitur. That does nothing for us currently.
Standards for average Americans. If I'm an American that voted for Trump, I'm like, I don't get this. You know, I might in a poll say, I get it, but I don't think I really get it.
Yeah, and then you also have to consider.
Sorry to interrupt. Piers doesn't get it, but a lot of Americans think they get it, and that's the problem. And that's goes back to what I said earlier. A lot of people are stupid, unfortunately. And the news has been making it clear, but people just can't discern right from wrong. You can't give somebody A and B and say, figure out C. You can't. You got to give it all to them on a table spread, a wide platter, wide open, super visible, clear. People are dumb, man. People are dumb.
Consider there, Pierce, right? Like there's a sizable percentage of people who support Donald Trump, who approve of the job broadly that he's been doing, who maybe, look, we're 3 weeks into this, go, all right, I'll kind of give him a chance. We'll see. But if this doesn't turn into any type of win, and if it turns into a clear disaster, which it already seems to be, that's only going to hurt him more and more and more. You know, I think, look, Pierce, it's despite the fact that it is not in my incentives in some way as like a political commentator, like I hope this whole thing just works out great. And then I
Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention this earlier. Sorry, guys. This is when I say I get caught up in just going crazy. But I'm seeing reports. I'm not sure how true they are, but this is from Wall Street Journal. Alex Ward apparently is the source. But I'm seeing reports that at least 3 congressional Republicans have stated, or they're hinting at the fact that a ground operation is underway. It's imminent in Iran. It says they are strongly hinting that a ground operation in Iran is planned and could potentially be underway soon. As everything has been falling in line, the Marines right outside of the Persian Gulf making it on Friday, all the action being on Saturday to not affect the stock market and make them volatile and crash Wall Street. You know, Trump does that strategically. It's like the wind is blowing in the direction. So we'll hope that that's not true. Maybe that's why Israel's going hard for the next 48 hours, is to give the opening for the U.S. I don't know. It's all speculative. I don't like to talk without serious evidence, but that's what I'm seeing. That's just what I'm seeing.
I know that all the people who don't like me will say, ha ha, you were warning that this would be a disaster. I hope that I would much rather take that deal and live in that. But Piers, the other element there is that, right, we had the 12-day war in the summer, and I've certainly heard, I heard at the time, some on debates that we did on your show and others, and I've heard nothing but since then on social media that, oh, you guys were so stupid. You were warning about exactly what we're seeing right now, which is what all of us were warning about who are critics of the 12-day war. And Iran didn't do that. And they were like, look, we got away with it. One and done. No Americans dead. And that's it. We don't have to do anything else. They spent the following 6 months bragging about how the nuclear threat had been totally obliterated. Now we find ourselves, Piers, back in this same situation. And as I mentioned last time on your show, the big picture here is that clearly the calculation changed for Iran. They no longer feel that it's in their incentive for self-preservation to not strike back and kill Americans or not do maximal damage. And now, clearly, with a younger, more radical Ayatollah who has not promised to not build nuclear weapons, they've made the calculation that actually they can't not give us a bloody nose, that they have to really make this cost us. Otherwise, we'll be back in another few months doing it again. And of course, at the beginning of this war, Donald Trump said this was a full regime change war and called for the people to rise up and overthrow their government. And the people did rise up, Pierce, in support of their martyr Ayatollah and in support of this regime. I know you saw some of those aerial shots. There must have been hundreds of thousands of people out in the streets in Tehran, in the most liberal part of the country, supporting the regime. So I'm sorry, at this point, this just looks like a catastrophe. And the best we can hope for at this point is that it only ends up killing like 10,000 people, and it only ends up costing tens of billions of dollars rather than the 200 that Secretary Hegseth has asked for. And this all relies on two major factors. Think about this, Pierce. It's not just that Donald Trump has to call it quit and declare victory or whatever, but then we got two other entities that are majorly involved in this war, Iran and Israel. Now, we know at this point, Iran is saying they're vowing not to stop. They talk a lot of bluster. Who knows? Maybe they will.
And this is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, this is from the 24th. So I don't even know if the statements about the IRGC, my God, I don't know if those statements had even surfaced at this point at the time of this interview, and where they said they're not going to do diplomacy and they rejected a 15-point plan. I don't think that had even surfaced yet. So he was right here. They're not going to talk. And again, it's because that 15-point plan, although not substantiated officially by the White House, you know, you've got Caroline Leavitt saying it entails certain things that are true from what we've seen in the media and certain things that aren't true. That's what I read in an article. I don't know what the hell that means. You know, they're not coming to the table. So they're going to keep fighting. And they're already in this war as well. You know, the same way I said, sorry, I'm like distracted. I dropped my pen cap. The same way that I was saying that Israel wants this to keep going, Iran wants it to keep going too. You know, they're at that point. I'll read some super chats. Unless there's reasonable demands that are being made. Star Gamer says, I'm curious, do you know if an F-35 was actually hit or not? Also, keep up the good work. So, yeah, that's what the IRGC claimed. Spokesperson for CENTCOM, I think it's Hawkins, I forget his first name. He had said that, you know, the pilot landed safely. I don't know if he even substantiated as to what happened, but it's seeming like they hit it, which is a big deal, by the way. That is Lockheed Martin's pride and joy, the F-35 jet. It's known for its advanced capabilities, its properties, its stealth. If that was hit, that's a bad look for the U.S. And this is what I mean when I say on an international scale or level, we don't look as untouchable as we once did, because you're seeing F-35s get shot out of the sky. You're seeing U.S. interceptor missiles not being able to handle some of these Iranian cluster packs. You're seeing other things like that where it's like, whoa, wait, maybe the United States and Israel is not as, you know, impenetrable as we once thought. You know, these guys can be hit, they can be bruised, they can be scarred, they can be marked. And the F-35 is a direct example of that. But there hasn't been too many reports on it, but it seems like the IRGC had released a statement and a video, and they claim to have hit it, and Hawkins had said something along the lines of something similar. So, yeah, that's what it was. I think it was hit. Chase Aldridge says, appreciate everything you admire and do. Have you seen the statistic about 61% of... Yes, it's from 2011, but good stat for boomers to open. Yeah, I just got to... Of course I do, but, you know, we're on YouTube, so... It's like, you know, this platform is weird. You got to kind of like, you know, what's okay, what's not. So I've just got to be very careful with that. But yeah, it would be a good red pill for boomers. I said this the other day. Yo, boomers are like, just forget it. You know, like if you've got a mom or a dad who's watching Fox News, and because I was talking to my friend today at work, and she said her mom is like in favor of the war, whatever. It's fine. You know, it's like, they just don't know better, bro. And I don't mean to like pity and be too empathetic. I went hard earlier. That's for the younger people. But like if they're older, man, there's no hope for them. They don't have the opportunity of educating themselves like we do as young people. Boomers have been thinking the way they've been thinking for 30, 40 years, their whole life. You know, who are you to be a 21-year-old, 30-year-old, whatever, and try and like educate them on this, you know? So I'm speaking from experience. Like I've tried. It's just... They're going to die in like 30 years. Who cares, bro? You know? I know that's brutal, but it's like, that's the truth. So, who cares? Don't waste your energy on trying to red pill people who don't want to accept the truth, man. So many hard-headed people. Like I said, I'm being taught real time. I'm new into the streaming space and whatever. But the amount of people that I have to like deal with that are saying, you're wrong, this is wrong, that stat is wrong, Trump is right, your prediction is wrong, and it's like, vindicated. Is it worth your energy to fight with those people? Of course not. Ken Rose, thank you for the $2. Elbow Ace, how much of a percentage do you think that we will have a ground invasion? 50, 90? Ken Rose, thanks for another $2. Appreciate you, man. How much of a percentage do you think that we will have in a ground invasion? If I'm understanding your question correctly, a good amount, but it's just a matter of how hard. Remember, the IRGC has 200,000 plus people on the ground estimated that are ready to fight. And then that doesn't account for all the crazy people who are going to join once the action takes place. You know, these people are going to genuinely invoke jihad. Like, that's their thing. You know, they're going to strive in the cause of God. They're going to fight this war religiously. They're going to believe that they're the right ones. They're going to believe they have the passage to martyrdom. So who knows how many people will be charged up if we do deploy boots on the ground. It'll be a nasty fight. I don't think it'll be seamless. Could be wrong, but that's just, you know, I haven't been wrong yet. You know, sorry, not trying to be cocky. Haven't been wrong yet. Me and Myron have not been wrong. Go back to every stream. Have not been wrong. Like, especially on the big points. I said, if Iran gets hit, I said this. Go fact check it. I don't remember what stream. Wallahi, I said this. If Iran gets hit, they are going to hit the UAE. They are going to hit the Gulf countries. Everyone's like, hey, you're dragging it. They can't even do that. Dubai has nothing to do with nothing. It's like, okay. UAE is like literally Israel. Okay, we'll see. Right across the water. Can send a cheap drone over there. They make them in-house. Doesn't cost them a lot of money. Doesn't cost them a lot of time. Not a headache for them to make that. They hate Dubai. They hate the UAE because they're closely allied with Israel. I'll be honest, I didn't think Saudi Arabia was going to get into the mix, but they showed that they didn't care. We got it right on everything, you know? So, not to be cocky, but if you're hearing me and Myron say something, maybe bank on it to happen. But I hope I'm wrong, because if I'm wrong, then the war ends. I'd love that, but that's likely just not where the wind is drifting, bro. Sorry.
Well, but Israel, Pierce, we all know they want the regime change here. In the 12-day war and in this war already, they've hit targets after Trump has clearly asked them not to. Who's to say they don't continue doing that? And it begs a real question of how we get out of this quagmire. Yeah, 3 weeks in, we're already there.
Have not watched this, by the way. It's just funny because he's saying the same things that I was saying. Swear to God, I have not watched this.
Right. So, Adam, you've had a little spat with Dave on social media. When he called it an illegal war of aggression on X, you said, come on, guy, read the room. Dave responded, let's not pretend you read, Adam. To which you replied, I'm able to read scoreboards. You are losing big time. Do you still feel that? I mean, do you still feel that? Because I would argue that the scoreboards militarily absolutely would show that the United States and Israeli combined forces have inflicted enormous damage.
Speeding this up, guys. I got TikTok brain, okay? I got TikTok brain. I'll admit it. I got to speed this shit up.
Damage on Iran's military capability. I think that's inarguable. However, what I don't think has been properly factored in by the Americans and Israelis is the ability of Iran to wage an economic war in parallel to a military war. And that by controlling the Strait of Hormuz and by attacking, as they have done, their neighboring Gulf states, both oil refineries and tourist hotspots and so on, they've managed to freak everybody out. And they freak the global markets. And this is incredibly damaging to Donald Trump because every day that Strait of Hormuz is shut, then you will see the impact for the next few weeks and months coming through the US economy and the global economy, but the US economy. You know, when fertilizer, when the impact of that being stopped comes through in a couple of months' time, it takes a while to cut through to the actual people of America. But it will, and when it does, it's going to be very damaging. Do you not think that the longer this goes on, the more of a miscalculation has been made here?
Look, I'm not the Trump is the all be MAGA guy. I'm the guy that was like, yeah, I'm not so sure about this Trump guy. You know what? Oh, I got the fake news. Oh, Russia. Oh, it turns out, yeah, you know, he's way better than the other side. So I had to use logic and a measured approach to get me to the point where I'm like, he's the guy. So I'll ask you another question. Let's say Trump wasn't here. What's Kamala doing?
Oh, no,
so
don't get me wrong.
Is binary.
I think Kamala Harris would have been a terrible president.
Okay, but what does that have to do with anything? This is the problem with this pro-Trump, pro-war sentiment that primarily has been just becoming from Zionists and boomers now at this point. This is why Democrats are going to clear in the midterms. Because in bad faith, by the way, they're going to weaponize idiots like this and Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and others. Although J.D. Vance is trying to jump the gun now. But they're going to weaponize this pro-war sentiment and help that for themselves to secure positions, of course, in the House and the Senate, and eventually the president in 2028, whoever that'll be. It's a wide open race, but could likely easily be a Democrat because they've showed that they're swaying the polls in their favor. Recently, they did that, and they're probably going to do it again in November, and then they're probably going to do it again for January of 2028. Now, this is the problem. Are they even going to do it in good faith? Who's to say because now the appetite will be for a pro-American president. It'll be for somebody who doesn't want to be involved in the Middle East, no foreign intervention. And then are they going to weaponize that as a campaign strategy in bad faith, and then when they get into office just do the same thing again? It's like now we can't discern right from wrong. And it's because people like this don't have their foot on the ground. People like this are not grounded. Now, of course, Adam is like an exception because he's just an idiot and he's a Zionist. But like there's others who fall into his opinion in this same category that are pro-Trump, pro-war. And it's like you are the reason why not only will the right lose all influence, but Democrats just have an open field day. People on the left will have an open field day with this. You know, so it makes things even more blurry. It like blurs the lines even more. Because like I said, a Democrat can now weaponize this war against the entire GOP and anybody on the right, even if it's in bad faith and they are on the side of Israel. And that's like kind of what you see J.D. Vance doing. He hasn't been public recently, and he's going to try to play the hero. Like the Trump ship is sinking. You got Joe Kent, he left. And J.D. Vance obviously just can't leave, but he can't be a remnant of MAGA and have a good chance in 2028 if he doesn't oppose this war. That's obvious because it's highly unpopular. And so what he'll do is on this sinking ship, he will deploy a lifeboat and get off and take the others with him who are going to support him in his campaign and go the other way, you know? And it's like, that's the problem. That's the problem. That's why it's like, there's no more giving. There's no more like straddling the line. You got to go hard on you-know-who now. I'm on YouTube. I got to be like kind of arbitrary in the way I explain this, but like, you got to be like, seriously, America is the first priority now. This just creates so much more issues, you know? But no one believes this guy. I mean, he's been horrible. Every single PBD video, people just complain about him in the comments. They're frying him. They're roasting him. And he gets so emotional. I saw clips of this on X. I didn't see the entire thing, but I know he got destroyed. And Dave Smith is smart, so there's no surprise there. Super chats real quick. Sorry, whoops. W stream, let's go. Important question for you. Can the Latinas with BBL stay instead of sending all the old abuelas back? Yeah, W there. Yeah. W Latinas. Latinas are bad, bro. If it's I'll give a ranking really quick. Haram. Okay.
Haram.
This will be a short segment. You really should think before you speak. Okay, you have probably at the top, I'd have to say, for me, this is for me. You have, I get sidetracked so easily. You have white women. I'm just laughing because, like, bro, I'm the black community is going to come for me. They're going to come for me, bro. I love my people, okay? I love my queens. Now, all right, let's get real. You have white women. But I also really love Middle Eastern women. You have, to me, they're even, okay? Sorry, primarily Mediterranean women and Arab women. I mean, it's the same thing, really, right? Middle East, Mediterranean. But like Italians, Greeks, dark features, strong features, Mediterraneans. Then it's Arabs. Then after that is Latinas, to me. And then after that would be... At that point, it's up for a grabs. I don't even have any preference under that. But, you know, that would be my ranking. W Latinas, bro. I think Spanish women are bad. You know, I think Spanish women are bad. So, someone said your number one is Somalis. Don't clip that. Don't clip that because I've been good and the Haram police are going to fry me into oblivion, bro. They're going to, just enough. Everyone seems to love our women. Bro, okay, let me make this clear. Don't want to marry a white woman. First of all, I don't even know if I want to get married. Let's keep it a buck, bro. Don't even know if I want to get married. Do you want to get married these days as a guy? Look around you. Look around. Look. Pay attention to the signs. Hello? Wake up. Do you really want to get married? But if I were to get married in a magical world, maybe later on in my 30s, that would be the preference if it were to happen. I would say definitely would go with a girl from Sudan. No doubt. I think so. Yeah, I want to keep it in the culture, bro. I don't want my kids to be half white, half black. I don't want to have to walk. Let's get real, bro. Let's get real, okay? I'm about to really get like super realistic here, okay? Bear with me. Just hang on. I don't want to be the African-American individual. Call me Arab, whatever it is. I don't want to be the brown guy dating some white woman and then walking into her house and meeting her family. And like her family's like, hello? Like, what are you doing with this black guy? I don't want to be that person. It's like, it's just, I'm not against mixing, but for me, you should keep it in the culture. You should keep it at home, keep it in the base, keep it in the tribe, keep it consistent, man. I don't want some zebra kids, okay? You don't need to be black and white. Preferably an Arab woman, at least, or a Sudanese queen. Just so my kids can be full-bred Sudanese. I need my kids to speak Arabic. They got to be like me, look like me, act like me. It's my progeny, nigga. Like, I don't want, you see what I'm saying? But white women are bad. They're bad. Like, I'll acknowledge that. I won't lie. They're bad. They're bad. Okay? But to me, they're even with Arab women. That's my take on that. But yeah, not a big fan of like, and I'm not like, I won't see an interracial couple and be like, like I'm not, whatever. You know, people like who they like. But for me, I definitely can't walk into a white girl's house and like her white dad meets me. And it's like, yeah, he'll notice like, oh, okay, he's a good one. You know, he's one of the good ones. But I don't want to impose myself. I'm dark. Like, bro, I don't want to. You have to cuck yourself. Like, you have to cuck yourself to be accepted by somebody else's family because you don't look like them. Date your own, man. Date your own. Now, Spanish is a little bit more nuanced, right? If I'm dealing with a Spanish girl, Arab girl, because I'm Arabic, right? In a way, I guess Sudans are Arab. That's the debate. But there's more. It's understandable there because the girl will be Muslim. She'll be Arab. Speak Arabic, same language. Not much of a clash of culture there. And honestly, in Sudan, there's a lot of Arabization into the culture. Obviously, we're originally Nubians. Originally, we are North African, Kingdom of Kush, right? We're sub-Saharan technically, right? But we're a part of the Nile River. We're a part of that descent, that village. But we were Arabized in the 7th century. So we're Arab, I guess. I don't know. Look at my brother. You know, he's got the Arab DNA. I've got the black DNA. Anyways, wow. Holy yap, bro. Focus. Okay. But yeah, white girls are bad. Conclusion. Nino NPC. Once the bodies start piling up, what do you think the U.S. will do at that point? And do you think despite censorship, Americans will learn the truth? Yeah, certainly, man. I think that if that happens, I don't want that to be a necessity, though, right? I don't want U.S. personnel to be getting killed in large numbers in order for Americans to wake up. It's like the bar is so low. It's like, hello, I just did like a 3-hour monologue on why this is a bad idea. I've been streaming for the last month about it. A lot of voices have expressed concern prior, where pro-Trump voices are now against Trump. Like, do you really need people to die to wake up again? This isn't Iraq, bro. Like, the bar is low. So I hope not. Primo Poppy says, how about Thomas Massey? I think he has a chance. I don't know if is he going to run? I don't think he's going to run. It's a wide open race, bro. El Musico says, W Riyadh all the way from Mexico. Hey, thank you so much, man, for the super chat. W Mexico. PBD is intelligent enough to know better. However, I think he's just targeting MAGA market. Eventually, when he milks it dry, he will jump ship. That's the thing, bro. PBD is smart. I will always acknowledge he's smart, although he like hates Muslims. Okay, he hates. So what do you have to say about Islam? What do you have to say about the Muslim terrorists? It's like, nigga, move on. Like, bro, enough. It's so annoying. It's like the anti-Muslim LARP, it's over, bro. It's not 2006, bro. Fucking leave that alone. It's so, excuse my language, enough of that. So what is your opinion on Islam? I'm a numbers guy. And if you look at the terrorism, and I'm a numbers guy, you see the Muslims are doing the most damage. And it's like, bro, enough. Talk about what you should be talking about. And if you notice, when he had Nick on, the energy was way different. Because like, and Nick is not pro-Islam, but like Nick will check that shit. Nick will be like, no, that's not really like, that's not the topic. That's not what is important right now. So I'm tired of Patrick Bet-David because He knows better. I know he knows better, bro. I know he knows better. But I don't think he's going to, I saw your super chat. I know the whole thing. I don't think he's going to jump ship. I don't think he's going to try and jump ship. I think he's going to hang on to this because at the end of the day, he is Persian. He's got a dog in the fight. That's his home nation. I mean, he's Assyrian, double diaspora, damn. But like, you know what I mean? He's Persian. He's Iranian. I am Iranian. He's Iranian. So for him, he does have a vested interest in some sort of secular regime coming to power because the guy does hate Muslims. The guy hates Islam, especially, of course, Shia Islam, because it's a little bit more of an extreme remnant. It's a more extreme sect. They are the proxy networks. They're the ones who fight. Sunnis don't really like, you know what I mean? You got ISIS and stuff, but we know about their origins. You know, their origins are a little bit more sinister, vague than that of the IRGC and the Iranians and stuff. Again, I'm careful. I'm on YouTube. All right. Persian women are bad. I forgot to say that. Persian women are crazy. Hello. And I would marry one, probably. A Persian girl, I'd marry one. But like not the secular Persian. And it sucks because those are the bad ones. Well, those are the ones you can see. Right? The religious ones are behind a niqab, a tarp, whatever. So you won't. But Persian women are gorgeous. We'll say that. I'm not trying to do this like LARP, by the way. Okay? I will not get into a relationship anytime soon. No girlfriends. Haram. Not getting married no time soon. I'm focused on myself right now. 24 years old. Don't need that. No thanks. Tom Brady can't keep it, nigga. I'm gonna keep my bitch, nigga. You crazy. Fucking out of your mind. You fucking crazy. Someone said, I do get up to 4, though. I do get up to 4. Hey, God told me that. Sorry. I do get up to 4, but I wouldn't marry 4. No, thank you. No, thank you. Let's get real. A lot of Muslim guys are like, I'll marry 4. Go ahead, inshallah. You know, inshallah, Allah makes it easier for you. No thanks over here, buddy. One is enough. It's difficult for me to come to terms that I'll have to have 1. Women are tough, bro. They're just children in big bodies, bro. They're tough. You can't. 4? Bugging out. Crazy. Not in this economy. Not while gas is $80 a tank, bro. That's how much it feels to. That's how much a full tank is for me. $80. Can't support 4 wives. Tripping. Ramirez says 07 is here. Thanks for the great work, man. Keep it up. God bless you, bro. Thank you so much. I know a lot of you guys are in here. Goodness, bro. We got sidetracked. All right. Let's get back on to topic. Wow. Who way to get distracted, buddy. Okay.
President. I thought Joe Biden was a terrible president. And I've always said with Trump, I think I find myself agreeing with some of the things he does and disagreeing with others, which I think is the right way to deal with Trump. I think if you just judge him on what comes out of his mouth.
Well, that's just like with anything, Pierce. You're not going to agree with everybody and disagree with that.
Right. Yeah, so, okay. and look, when I came on the PBD podcast, I loved it because we disagree about stuff and you guys come on, we disagree, we agree, but we never fall out over it, and nor should anybody, right? But on this specific call about Iran, I did say on day one, I think this is a massive gamble. And I don't understand the timing. And I think the capacity for this to go badly wrong is very...
Epstein files certainly have to do with the timing, I'll admit. No better time for Trump to distract people than now with that. So that's partially the reason for sure.
High. The longer it has gone on, because Trump originally was like, this is over in days, then it's over in a couple of weeks, then everything started changing, then the regime change he said was going to happen with people rising up. None of that has happened. There are lots of reasons for it. I think the reason we saw so many pro-regime people hit the streets was they were not going to get killed doing it. We saw in January when people protested against the regime, a lot got killed. And obviously there are bombs flying around.
Yeah, and even that number is up for debate. The IRGC had a number. The U.S. had a number. Like, that's not even clear. And of course, it benefits the United States and Israel to inflate that number dramatically. So 30K, not a believer in that. I don't know what the number is. It's not really clear. I don't know. Could fall somewhere between maybe like 10, 15. It ain't 30.
All over the cities of Iran, which will also put people off, I guess. So there are lots of reasons, I guess, why people are protesting or not protesting in certain ways. But to me, the justification for this war has changed so many times. It's made me think, I don't think Donald Trump has any clear idea of what victory looks like. Do you? I mean, if the regime remains intact and they keep their enriched uranium, for example, and they maintain control of the Straits of Hormuz, is that victory?
Well, look, this was not an easy decision. You think, these guys have been in power 47 years. Everybody in our microwave hustle society wants this done in the next 4 to 7 weeks. It's going to take some time. And we've already, I was talking to a good Navy SEAL, buddy of mine, Navy SEAL. He said, dude, we've taken out 80% of their military capacity. Not bad in less than a month. So let the guy cook a little bit. So you also talk about, Dave, that, oh yeah, they had people out there.
All right, we took out 80% of their military capacity. Would we really need 5,000 Marines in the region? Get real, buddy. That's bullshit.
They're pro-regime. Yeah, nobody's denying that 10 to maybe 20% max of the country is pro-regime. But what about the 80% of the country? That's like if Dave had a comedy show and there was 100 people that magically showed up to Dave's comedy show. Oh my God, he has so many fans. Dude, there's 100,000 people outside that didn't go to the show. I'm not being like brutish or sarcastic, but just you're taking a small sample size and extrapolating that for the entire country. We all know
just to be clear,
who this regime is.
Hang on, Adam.
We all know that this is a terrorist regime.
Just to be technically correct on that argument you're making, if 100 people turned up to watch Dave's show, then technically over 8 billion chose not to.
Correct, and that's pretty uniform at this point.
This is really making me feel bad about my numbers on the road.
It doesn't necessarily mean that 8 billion people.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean there are 8 billion people who don't like Dave Smith.
I used to own a couple. No, it's fine. I mean, I actually do like Dave Smith. Let me tell you a Dave Smith story. I actually have respect for Dave Smith, but I realized who Dave Smith is, and I would say this to his face or on camera. Dave Smith is a radical libertarian. Don't take my word for it. You've said this multiple times. Have you not, Dave Smith?
Said what? That I'm a radical libertarian? Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Yes. Okay, perfect. So when you're radical, what's another word for?
I believe in it. Well, what I believe in is true Americanism.
Extremist. Okay, this is why
these are all
call
relative
America,
terms.
This is why you call, this is why you call the U.S. military the greatest terrorist organization on earth, right? Because you're a true American? Because you're a true patriot? Is that why, Dave? Because something tells me you have what is known as clickbait of the mouth. And you're using these instances, these wars, to garner attention for you. You have the American flag behind you, yet you have the hypocrisy of saying the United States military, United States is the greatest.
I can't. I gotta stop him there. If you really love this country, if you're really a patriot, the first thing that you would do is acknowledge we fight senseless wars in the Middle East, and as a result, we wreak havoc and terrorism upon the people who are subject to such attacks that benefit a certain country that is very small within that region. Really not that difficult to understand. I don't like to use the term, we're a terrorist country. At the end of the day, I was born here. This country did a lot for me. It's my birthright to defend the country. I have pride in being American. Same time, I'm Muslim, and those are my people. But, Dave's not wrong. Dave is not wrong. How much have we been involved in situations that we shouldn't have been involved in? How many civilians have we killed for no good reason? Iraq, Gaza, that's because of us. We funded the war in Gaza. Big time, especially in the beginning, right after October 7th, which was that Israel had to go ahead, obviously, on October 7th. Charlie Kirk said that Egyptian officials had alerted Israel onto that. They still let it happen so they can annex the Strip, ethnically cleanse it. Benjamin Netanyahu had said this verbatim. He wants to ethnically cleanse. He wants the Palestinians out. Now, whether they want to turn it into some dream vacation destination, I'm not sure. That's what the sources are saying. There's no official statement on that, but that's kind of where the wind has blown in that direction. But certainly we do wreak havoc and terror on that region because of a certain nation that causes us to do so, though. So, benefits this guy to be Mr. American Patriot. Don't say that about our country in this instance, but we'll see how he fumbles as this continues. Super chats really quick. Sorry. Lotus says, do you think we'll forever be ruled by... honestly, bro, yeah. We're cooked. Albo Ace, the UAE is cooked if we invade straight up. Yeah, could be. Like I said, they're making it felt across the region. The UAE is really cooked if we hit their power plant. I think that's why Trump didn't do it. Because if we hit their power plant, the power plants that are going to be hit back as a result is really going to destroy not only oil prices, but stock prices. Like, that's really going to send the world into a catastrophe. So that could be a part of the ground element. Maybe we'll hit their power plants, make it go dark, then put the soldiers in. I don't know. Speculative. But certainly the Gulf countries are going to feel it too. Riyadh says, hey, what's up? Riyadh. PBD complained about his friend imposing Islam at his house, but PBD gave Tate a Bible at his home after jail, saying, "Hope you can come back. He's a fraud." Yeah, it's like, bro, I have no problem with somebody being proud that they're Christian. You know what I'm saying? Like, you should be proud of your religion. I hate people that aren't proud of who they are when it comes to a religious thing. Like, be proud of that, you know? Claim the fact that you're Christian. Claim the fact that you're Arab. But, like, and even if you impose yourself, it's funny, super chat I just read. If you impose your religion upon other people, that just shows that you really believe in your religion and you want the betterment of other people. Christians do this. They evangelize people. They say, come to Christ. Muslims say, believe in one God. Everybody's got their own little punchline, if you will. But the thing with PBD is, like, he just does not really understand the true origin of, like, Islamic terrorism, anti-American sentiment in the Middle East. Like, he glosses over it. And of course, it's intentional. The guy is pro-Israel. He is. No doubt about it. So he has to step over that. But at some point, that will completely discredit him. Sorry. It will. It already has, but it's really going to, like, could hurt his career significantly as if he keeps standing on the wrong side of things. YV Lit says, say wallahi Adam is below room temp IQ. Yeah, he probably is. I'm not going to say wallahi because who knows. But you got to realize, man, here's the thing. These people, you know what I mean when I say these people? They're very smart. The first step is knowing that. They're smart. They're not dumb. Hey, hello, you think they got to where they are by being dumb? Nigga, okay, they're smart. First step to knowing your enemy. Understand them. That's in a book somewhere. Got to be. I don't read like that. You have to understand that they're smart. If you don't acknowledge that, then one, you're being delusional, you're in denial, but two, you won't understand how to fight them back. You won't understand how to impose yourself back on them, meet that force with an equal force. So they're smart. And so I say that to say, maybe he is smart. He's just fighting a losing battle. At the end of the day, his vested interest is the state of Israel. And Israel has become an indefensible state as they've administered a genocide on Gaza. They've been annexing the West Bank. You could talk about the whole apartheid colonialism. I mean, there's many reasons as to why, you know, it's a country that wreaks havoc upon the region that it resides in. And so it's a difficult country to defend. So I think a lot of people from that country are probably smart, but they're just so evil they can never admit it's wrong. And so it makes them look dumb, dumber than they actually are. If it was my job to get on here every night and defend them, and I'm not saying I'm super smart, but I would look a lot dumber than I actually am. You get what I'm saying? So don't underestimate them. I say he's an idiot, but, you know, realistically, he's just fighting an uphill battle that he can never let go. And that's their MO, you know? This is a persecuted group of people, and they'll always fight for their existence, and they'll go to any length to do so, even if it means being wrong, blundering, contradicting. It's whatever. Look at Benjamin Netanyahu. Israel got hit in a missile strike from Iran, and he says, they're targeting civilians. Look, they're hitting civilians. If anyone needed a sign that Iran is a terrorist regime, look no further. They're hitting civilians. And it's like, are you actually saying that right now? You're one to talk, buddy. Are you dead ass? Are you dead ass? You just killed like 100,000 people inside of 2 years in Gaza. Constantly, settlers are attacking Palestinians in the West Bank, which is illegal according to international law. Are you want to talk? Do you have any moral high ground? But it's like he knows that. He's just in an indefensible position. This is the position he has to take. That's his vested interest. So you got to know that, bro. You got to understand that. You know what I mean? Peruvian Hayes, I have work in a few hours. Chat, hit the like. Shout out to OSS Riyadh. Please keep up the amazing work. Hey, bro, thank you so much for stopping by. Appreciate you. Get some rest for work, man. The Matrix is tough, man. I'm right in there with you, brother. Matrix life. But hopefully I went early enough for a lot of you guys to catch stream. Aboe says, what do you think about Turkey and Pakistan possibly being the next on the list? Yeah, potentially. After this is all said and done with. But, you know, we'll cross that path when we get there. Pakistan is a nuclear threat, and then Turkey also is close to that. They're very capable. So I don't know if it'll go that far, to be honest. You know, they got a lot of influence, but of course they have not been directly involved in any of these conflicts, really. So
this terror organization the world has ever seen? I mean, I don't understand what's going on here. This is why you're radical.
I didn't say.
So by the way,
Well, I
speaking
tell,
of
I tell,
radical,
I tell you what, hang on, just to be fair,
to
to Dave, let's replay what he actually said on this show, which caused all the furore, led by Ben Shapiro. We'll play what he said, and I'll play what Shapiro said about it, and then we'll come back to Dave for a response.
The IDF is the worst terrorist organization in the region. Let's get real. The United States of America is arguably the worst terrorist organization in the world. If you want to look over the last 25 years, how many innocent civilians we've slaughtered.
It doesn't matter, it turns out, how many times you appear on Joe Rogan's show or how many times you hide behind your title of comedian who holds the Guinness Book of World Records for fewest jokes told, or how many times you spew puerile analogies that demonstrate nothing but unbelievable, willful ignorance of the nature of war. I'm sorry, but you hate the country if you say America is the worst terrorist organization in the world. You just do. Now, I know that Dave Smith is super duper.
No, you don't. You just don't. That's not true. Both of those things can exist at the same time. You can love the country while acknowledging the fact that we've done tons of war crimes. That's like not like, hello, you're an idiot. Actually, if you do that, it means you're holding your home country accountable. You're not letting them slide. You're honest. And this guy's been losing. Who watches Ben Shapiro, bro? No one Googles Ben Shapiro debate. Ben Shapiro crushes liberal. No one likes you anymore. You know, so his approval rating is in the toilet. Just the truth.
Super excited that his name was mentioned here. And he's sitting there shouting at his TV screen in his basement, "Debate me, bro!" To which I answer, nah. I don't debate with trolls who claim that America is the biggest terrorist state in the world because that...
No, you don't debate because you understand the position you hold is indefensible and people like Dave Smith or others in the space would destroy you. And you know that because you're wrong, but your vested interest is for the existence of your people anyway, so it doesn't matter. That's why you will never step up to the debate stage. At least he's smart enough to acknowledge he'd get fried. He'd get smoked. Doesn't matter how smart you are, bro. If you're that wrong, you're not going to cover much ground.
...is idiotic.
So, Dave, as you know, that all blew up. A lot of debate raged about it. Just, clarify what you meant. Do you regret phrasing it the way you did? Just give us a bit more meat on the bone.
No, I don't regret phrasing it the way I did, and I'll be very clear about what I'm saying. I will point out that it's quite something for Ben Shapiro. Just since you played him, I got to respond to him first. That he goes, "Oh, I just won't debate with this guy because this is so beyond the pale." Ben Shapiro made his name debating 19-year-old communist Maoists who were confused about their gender. So somehow, Piers, we're going to have to believe here that I'm so much less serious than the children who Ben Shapiro made a career debating. I loved your response to him where you pointed out some of the goofy segments that he does on his show. I mean, personally, I really stay away from that stuff. And, for Adam, I think to say it's clickbait or that I just want to get out in front of the camera, I think we're all equally in front of a camera right now. And it's kind of weird to accuse someone else. I very much believe the things I'm saying.
Dave,
now, to Adam's point,
Dave, don't run from the comment. Don't run from your comment.
I'm trying to
address
get to
the
it. There's
comment, not Ben Shapiro, would you? Good. Yes, let's go. Wrap it up.
No, I'm going to make the points I want to make.
You called the United States.
All right, this is where he shows he's stupid. He just gets so emotional. Control yourself. Control yourself. He has no self-control at all. It's so painful to watch him. Control yourself. Super chat, sorry. Just want to read the super chat very quickly. Respond to you guys as quickly as I can. Nino Assyrian. Hey, shout out to Assyrians. Iran should act preemptively and go balls to the wall to get ahead of the storm. Yeah, and they've kind of been doing that, you know. They've been letting the U.S. take the first move, though. But, yeah. They're just waiting, man. It's their home country. They got home court advantage, so they don't got to do anything too hastily. They can just sit and wait. They don't got to be too hasty. They just got to read the room, wait for the troops, and they're going to make their move. And I hope their move doesn't deal a lot of damage, but that's what they've been doing. They've been waiting for the U.S. to make the move they expect them to make. Then they have the counter move. So they're just sitting ducks waiting.
Military.
You're just slowing. Okay, so
you called the United States military the greatest terror organization in the world.
Adam,
defend.
Just let me answer. No problem. I'm going to go back to the order I was going to go in. To Adam's point, when Adam says I'm a radical libertarian and I say that this is true Americanism, I mean, look, my favorite founding father is Thomas Paine. Not everyone considers him a founding father, and maybe I love him so much because he never held a government position and didn't own slaves, which I thought was pretty cool. But Benjamin Franklin said he was the most consequentialist and the one person most responsible for the United States of America existing. His famous pamphlet that he wrote was called Common Sense, and I think on the first or second line of it, he says, government is at best a necessary evil. So at best, He's like, this is clearly on the anarchist to night watchman state spectrum was what true Americanism was when it started. Now, for me to say what I made the point, and I've made this point a million times on your show, Piers, I was saying when people come on and say Iran is the biggest state sponsor of terrorism, well, just like give me an objective definition of what terrorism means, and then let's apply that standard universally. And if you're going to sit here and say, look, America has given billions, tens of billions of dollars to the IDF in the last few years. We've also, by the way, given a lot of weapons and money here. Your first guest on this show there, the head of the Obama deep state, was using Al-Qaeda, bin Ladenite head choppers on the ground in Libya and in Syria. And yes, Adam, I would also consider it when our politicians lie us into wars that slaughter millions of innocent people and in many cases target those innocent. Check the score in innocent people.
I just really want to see. I really want to see what Adam's gonna say. I know Dave is just like gonna cook whatever. I really want to see what Adam's gonna say. Sorry.
It's a terrorist organization. You've already lost the debate. You live in America, tough guy. You have the luxury of sitting in your little studio with your hooded sweater, like you're 17 years old. The regime. Do you mean all American presidents?
I'm 17
Who's your
years
favorite
old.
president in the last 50 years?
Adam, I'm 17 years old.
Who's your favorite president in the last 50
I have
years?
a wife and children. Who depends on you, Adam? Your mom?
Okay. I also
Yeah, I
have
mean, if you want to make it personal.
Wait, kind of. He hesitated there. All right, what the fuck?
So you want to go personal?
You have a significant
Dave,
other.
we can go as
Anyway,
personal as we can go.
No, I'm trying not to.
We can go as personal as you want.
Respond to one thing.
I don't
Adam.
care, Dave.
Adam, some substance.
I don't care.
I know because you don't know
Dave,
anything.
you're a radical.
So move on. So
Okay.
stop picking a fight.
Adam is clueless, by the way. If you watch his debates, like if you take the time to watch him discussing Zionism, Israel, whatever it is, you will quickly find this guy knows nothing. Guy knows nothing. He's got a platform, not deserving of it. Makes PBD look bad. PBD has effectively made himself look bad. PBD is kind of losing a lot of approval these days because they're defending a senseless war, and Americans are waking up. But yeah, Adam is clueless. Dave is right when he says that.
With me, dude, you don't know anything about anything. You're Pat's guy.
I know.
And I like you, dude. I like you. I like your show. I respect Pat.
Dave. Okay. Zay, here we go. I'll talk now for a second. I'm defending.
And Pat is way more graceful and mature when he debates. That's the thing.
The military right now. You're basically saying that all our boys that go to the military are all terrorists. That's what you're saying.
No.
You're equating that the United States of America, the IDF, are the equivalent of ISIS and Al Qaeda. By the way,
He's definitely also reading off of something.
So used to respect
if you pay attention,
until.
Where's he looking here? Look at the camera. Like, this is a show. Like, if you're streaming, that's one thing. Because obviously I'm looking at what I'm doing. I'm looking at the chat. But like, he's got his talking points ready. He's got some teleprompter or something. It's like, hey, bro, look at me. What is he looking at? How do you write notes, have all your talking points ready, know what to talk about, and you still blunder? You can't even finish a cohesive statement.
Until you went on a little podcast called Coleman Hughes. What happened on that podcast, Dave? This is the problem. I'll tell you
Why don't you do it right now, Adam? Why don't you do it?
I'll do it right now, Dave. I'll do it right now. Because here's what Dave is. Here's Dave Smith. By the way, 1% of Americans vote for libertarians every year. So you're trying to basically say that you know more than the average American. 1% of Americans vote for your people, Dave. Why don't you run for something? Why don't you stand for something? You stand for nothing.
Okay, can I respond? Again, Piers, this is the level of substance.
No. Here we go. I'm going to tell you a story, Dave, and then you can respond. Because this is where I lost respect for you as a debater. Because I was like, oh, this guy Dave, he actually knows some stuff. He's doing his thing. And then you showed up on Coleman Hughes' podcast. Piers, do you know who Coleman Hughes is?
I do. He's been on the show.
I've been on the show with him.
Perfect. That's this guy right here, just in case, if the camera doesn't see.
But what is the point you're making?
Yeah, what is the relevance? What the fuck are we doing? This is so embarrassing. Zeke says Trump's going on an excursion to Cuba. Very funny facts. What the hell is this, bro? I'll play it back in a moment, but we're going to have to wrap this segment up. I can't listen to Adam, bro. I cannot. This is so... Here, let's go back in a timestamp. Are they like... Do they talk about the war, bro?
Trump is the all-B MAGA guy. I'm the guy that was like, yeah, I'm not so sure about this Trump guy. You know what?
How the fuck you weren't? Shut up.
I got the fake news. Oh, Russia. Oh, it turns out, yeah, you know, he's way better than the other side. So I had to use logic and a measured approach to get me to the point where I'm like, he's the guy. So I'll ask you another question. Let's say Trump wasn't here. What's Kamala doing?
Oh, no.
So
all right, we'll go back to where we were. It's just like, bro, it's like he's bringing up... Guys, at any point, do they actually discuss the war? Clearly not, because Adam probably can't even defend the war. I wish Dave put him in a corner more. He probably did. There's a lot of timestamps here. At any point, do they even, you know what I mean? Like, this is just clown work, bro. Sorry, I'm disinterested in this. It's like, I can't. If somebody has a timestamp where they go over the war, like, I'd love to go over that and debunk Adam. But, like, I thought we were going to have some substance there. Literally got into nothing important. Talking about Goldman, whatever. buddy, you want to talk about anything that's actually relevant, like the war? Absolute idiots, bro. Okay, so that White House post that was really vague that I reacted to earlier, by the way, the official White House social media profiles published 2 vague videos which almost seem incidental if not for the post being on all social media platforms. The first video appears to be Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt saying it's launching soon, right? The second video is even stranger with the video static until a single frame of detached American flag appears and then disappears. No explanation for the post have been given, but it does seem to be an accident. Let's see.
So cool. So cool. It's launching soon, right?
Yes.
So cool.
Okay, what's the second one? What the fuck? Okay, you got the U.S. flag here. What is going on? What is going on, man? Lord have mercy. Clean it up, Trump. Clean it up. I don't know if that's on purpose. I don't know. Not into that. Like, what are we doing, bro? Anyways, they removed it. They deleted the video. Suleiman says blackmail, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, that's where we are, guys. Okay, let's see super chats. Ken Rose says, sorry to push back, Riyadh. No, it's all good, man. I don't think interracial dating is bad as long as one or the other partner / spouse is fully immersed in the other's culture linguistically and by action. That's fine. It's your prerogative to believe that. I'm not against race mixing, but like race mixing is synonymous with culture mixing. So like somebody's going to have to concede to the other's culture. For me, I'm not willing to do that. That's my point. I'm not going to date a Swedish girl and then succumb to Swedish culture. No, thank you. No, I'm going to keep my culture the way it is, my religion the way it is. Arab Muslim, going to get an Arab Muslim girl. I think everybody would benefit from adopting that mentality. But like, I don't see like a Christian and a Muslim married or like a Jewish person and a Muslim married or whatever. I get mad at it. Like, it's like, whatever, that's people's prerogative. I'm not so passionate about it to the point where like I'm condemning people for it. People will fall in love with whoever they fall in love with or lust whoever they lust, whatever. That's fine. But for me personally, that's just me. Like, I will, for marriage, like that's a big deal. You just got the roster, who cares? But for marriage, big deal. Okay. Yeah, guys. Sorry of cutting that short, but like you can see why the cortisol spike with Adam is just terrible. It's like unbearable to watch. Unbearable. We could watch some news, but super unbearable. Let's watch some Patrick Bet-David instead. Let's see what they've been doing. This debate is like L season though. Like, can't do it. And Adam's always just been a sore to the PBD movement. He's been horrible, So let's see, PBD Iran. Let's see what the numbers guy is saying. Okay.
Countries.
Oh, Vinny. Yeah. Can't stand him as well. All right, so they reacted to the 15-point peace plan being rejected. Thank the Lord for timestamps.
Hey, so we got Business Podcast Wednesday. We have the great Barry Habib here with us, as well as Brandon Aceto and Tom Ellsworth. The goal is to get smarter, make better decisions. So a lot going on. I mean, obviously, we have to still continue talking about the stuff that's going on with Iran. I think there's a 15-point plan to end the war with Iran. As Trump says, the regime has agreed to scrap nuclear program. What does that really mean? Iran's come back and made their request. They want reparations for the damages that has taken place. We'll go back and forth. We'll address that.
Also, why does Iran want their nuclear enrichment? Why do they want a nuke, even though there's a fatwa against it, which is a religious ruling by the previous leader Khamenei, in which he's now succeeded by his more extreme son, Mojtaba Khamenei. But regardless of that, stay focused here. What is the point of this nuclear enrichment? It's to hedge. It's if you have the threat of being able to make a bomb at any time, you can guarantee that you won't be subject to regime change. That's another thing. If the United States was not notorious, as well as Israel, really primarily it's Israel, for toppling leaders all over the Middle East, really, all over Iran, they've been neighboring to witnessing this, well then maybe they wouldn't be so extreme in their goals of chasing such a nuclear program or a nuclear bomb, whatever it is that they really want to create. And so, again, this is why I always say Obama fixed the problem. But of course, Trump undermined it because At the end of the day, the donors and Israel as a whole, they don't just want them to not be nuclear capable. They don't want them to be there. They don't want them to be there because they check their power. Checks and balances, proxy network, missiles. They keep Israel at bay.
And then at the same time, just this morning, could have been last night, but I think it's this morning, the age to join the military, that was always 34, 35, because I'll never forget being in boot camp, and a 34-year-old guy was with us. We were 18, 19 years old. We're like, what are you doing? He says, I got out, did 8 years, want to come back in to finish my 20 years. I said, you're 33, 34. Maximum age at the time was 34, 35. Now, as of today, for some of you that are open and interested, Vinny's outside right now trying to get a job, just so you guys know that. He's concerned. He's worried that AI is going to replace his character on the podcast. And he says, look, I got to go back into the
Probably could, that dumbass nigga.
military. The age is officially from 35 to 42 years old. I wonder why. Maybe they want you, they need you. We'll talk about it. Vinny's requesting if they can raise it to 48. They're not listening to him. But we'll see what's going to happen there. Aside from that, a few other things that's going on. Wall Street Journal comes out with a story. With everything that's being talked about, you would think they're talking about lowering the rates, right? But no. Wall Street Journal comes out with a story talking about a Fed likely hikes next, not cuts. Wall Street Journal. Just a couple days ago, they're talking about that. What do you mean rate hikes? Well, maybe they're going to be raising the rates when it comes down to no masks for ICE agents for airports. A lot of videos going around showing the fact that ICE agents are being polite, giving water, taking care of people, being respectful to them.
Yeah, the airports are a mess. Well, he's going to go over the news in a moment, like the actual Iran deal. But just want to play this. I reacted to this tweet. I'll show my quote tweet. But this is what he said, I think, in a previous show, the one previous to the one we were just watching, or before that.
I am America first, period.
Bingo.
Okay, so
I'm not even kidding with
are you
No.
Iran second?
I don't even think that way.
Yeah, you can.
I don't even think that way.
It's like, look at Adam's little sinister ass trying to put him in a corner.
Do both. I am America first, period.
Bingo.
Okay, so
I'm not even kidding with
are you
No.
Iran second?
Yeah, fuck. What the fuck are you asking? He's an Iranian American. What are you trying to put him in a corner for? What are you? What are you? We know what country's first for you.
I don't even think that way.
Yeah, you can.
I don't even think that way.
But here's the problem. If you're favorable of this war, you completely render your position of being America first, no matter what comes out of your mouth. If you are favorably for this war, if you think there's some sort of positive effect for this war, you have forfeited your America first position, period. There is no I'm America first when you're in favor of this war, for reasons that I've explained for the last 2.5 hours. So it's like oxymoronical. It's like, what are we doing? It's oxymoronic.
Wait, let me tell you what I'm for. Like, I've never answered this question, but I will comfortably say nothing is above America, and it's not even close.
So then why are you in favor of this war? That's what are we doing? If nothing comes close to what actually is interested for, or in the interest of America, if America is that first, if America is that much of a priority for you, and you're that emphatic about it, love to hear it, but your sentiment the last few weeks has not expressed such a behavior, such a belief, such an ideology. You were the guy saying the Ayatollah needs to fall. We need to be militarily involved. I think we should do this. I think this is a good idea. You were behind Trump. You and Adam parading Trump like idiots. The only few idiots to parade Trump. And I don't want to be disrespectful here, because I don't want to be disrespectful to Patrick Bet-David, but you guys made a fool of yourselves. You paraded Trump, and now you're realizing this war is manifesting into what everybody on our side of the internet was saying it would be, which is a full-fledged war, boots on ground. You can't get regime change from the air. Never has worked. Never will work. That's not how it works. Iran has fortified their missile systems, has fortified their nuclear enrichment underground, because they know in the air they can't match the United States or Israel, or both of them at the same time for that matter. And so we told you regime change is going to be a boots on ground situation. Even if it's short-lived, U.S. personnel will deal with casualties, in which we already have. The number's not finalized, by the way. I'm sure it will grow significantly. So it's like, what are we doing here, man? Is this damage control? Stand on your side. Stand on your side. If you're not America first, then you're not America first. What threat does Iran pose to the United States? They don't have intercontinental missiles. They don't have missiles that can make it to our territory, to our soil. They don't interfere with our sovereignty. We go to the Middle East, we bomb the next 5 countries, an Iranian proxy group kills a couple U.S. soldiers, and now it's, oh, Iran. Why are we there? Why are we there? Are you stupid? Hello? Do not start the story in the middle. This is what they do with the Gaza situation. Well, on October 7th, what are you talking about? How about 1948? What are you talking about? And I'm not defending that attack, but it's like, hey, for the full story, you got to start from the beginning. That's what a full story is. You know what happens when you start a story in the middle? Everything prior to it is missing. Then you don't have something key called context. You don't have context. You can't make a valid discernment as to whether what we're doing is correct or not. I can tell you, start the story from the beginning, 1979 or even prior. What we're doing in Iran now is unnecessary, not favorable for our interest. Hello? I'm not speaking Chinese here. What have they done to us? Oh, they got a nuke. Oh, they got intercontinental missiles. Okay, North Korea does too. Kim Jong-un is probably crazier. Kim Jong-un is super weird. North Korea is like this super authoritative dictatorship. They don't talk to nobody. They have relations with nobody effectively. They're a rogue nation, sanctioned to hell. And you see Trump meeting Kim Jong-un on the border in his previous term. He's a tough guy. He's a strange guy, but he's a good guy. What are you saying, bro? You know? So
I agree with you.
When I tell you it's not even close, it's not even close. Now, there's
sounds like it's close, Patrick.
4 places that have a place in my heart. I'm Armenian. My mother's Armenian. So Armenian, Assyrian, my dad. I'm a very proud son of Gabriel ben David. I admire him. I love him. I want to make sure. So I have a very close pride in the Assyrian community. I was born and raised in Iran, and the Iranian people are some of the most incredible people in the world. I love them.
Persians are very smart. They're very capable people. I think they're the highest earning immigrant class where they previously were. Very smart, capable people. I've always given them their credit. A phenomenal, remarkable group of people. No doubt about that.
They're fantastic. But the greatest country in the world that gave me the greatest gifts I have is America. Period. And it ain't even close.
Hey, I agree. So this is what you're going to do from now on then if you really mean what you said. The greatest country in the world is the United States. It's giving you all the opportunities that you currently have and that you're showcasing. You have a ton of fame, you make a ton of money, you have an influential show, you give the news or deliver the news to a lot of people who are probably impressionable, older. And so it is your duty as an American to serve American interests. You run a podcast in America. You talk about America. There are American flags all over your setup, if I remember correctly. You're pro-American in every way, so much to the point that you will entertain Zionist talking points about Islamic terrorism. Fine, whatever. But you cannot support this war at the same time and then turn back around and say this. What kind of damage control, disingenuous, lies of omission bullshit is this? You can't two-sided. Draw the line, man. Draw the line. You got to draw the line. Don't do this straddling bullshit. Adam going to do it because Adam is who he is. Adam is, hello. But like you should know better. And that's what makes me think. Is there foreign money in his pockets? There very likely may well be. Like what? Because what is this position for? I get it. Oh, he's Iranian. Oh, he's secular. Oh, he's Christian. He's Iranian. He's Persian. He's Assyrian. Like, bro, he's all these things. But is he American? I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I've already explained for 2 hours why this war doesn't benefit the United States. So tell me why he's in favor of this attack. Tell me why historically Patrick Bet-David has secretly supported the idea that Islamic terrorism stems from ideology of Islam. You could do the whole apologetics thing. We can get into theology. But really, Islamic terrorism, Islamic aggression, all this stuff that's got a connotation with Islam actually stems from an anti-American sentiment that is motivated by our intervention per the command of Israel in their region where we wreak havoc amongst their people and their population for years at a time. Iraq, Syria, Libya, Afghanistan, like several other countries. And via proxy, Sudan, my home country. Not the United States, but certainly Israel because the UAE has got their hands all in Sudan. And they're a direct ally. They have a direct access. They have a direct partnership. You don't think there's Zionist footprints there? You got another thing coming. You're a fool. So, I'm just tired of it, man. From all the comments, all the Trump shills, and like these guys, it's like no one wants to be honest anymore. These guys have big voices. Steven Crowder also doing the whole anti-Islam thing. It's like, yo, bro, not based. I don't even, it's not even because I'm Muslim. And I swear no one's going to believe me. It's not even because I'm Muslim. I don't care. I'm grounded in my religion. Okay? I don't need to see pro-Islam content, anti-Islam content. I'm indifferent. I know my faith by my heart. It's written on my sleeve. Could care less. It's just like, hey, do that. Have fun, whatever. That pays the bills. But are you going to tell the truth? You know? That's what I can respect. So I'm tired of these guys, bro. Disingenuine, all of them. And they have so much influence, and it's a shame because they use it for the wrong reasons. Of course, the money motivation is there, and so. 3 Diglett says, I always refer to Adam as Banks now. I don't want to read the first word. This video will get limited. But yeah, facts. RH, thanks for the super chat, by the way. 3 Digletts. RH4270, you can't be America first and not talk about the APAC lobby. You can't be a numbers guy and not talk about the APAC numbers. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. Somebody enlighten me. Has Patrick spoken about such a thing? Yeah, bro, this is what I mean with the Islam thing. It's like so easy. It's like so easy. Anybody can do a dig-eyed Islam. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a sitting duck. It's so easy. It's like taking candy from a baby. Islam, Islam, Islam. Grow up, bro. Grow up. Grow up. Grow up. I'm tired of it, bro. And they're going to say you're a Muslim and that's why you care. And it's like, bro, look at Steven Crowder. His coverage of this war has been bad. It's just been bad, straight up. He's been saying the wrong things. He's gotten everything wrong. And that guy speaks horribly about Islam. It's like it's always, every single time, well. You want to talk bad about Islam? All right, now tell me why we're really at war in Iran. Do that for me. Do that for me. Islam this, Islam that. All right, tell me why we're at war in Iran. Can you do that? Can you do both things at the same time? If so, whatever. Have your anti-Islam rhetoric, have fun. But if you can't do that, bro, goodbye. Hush, hush. Your opinion is irrelevant. You do nothing. So, it's frustrating, bro. It's frustrating. Because it's lucrative to talk bad about Islam. You know what I mean? It's lucrative. It pays the bills. It pays the bills. It's easy to do. It's been the center talking point for foreign policy for several years. Islam this, Islam that. Laura Loomer uses it effectively. Jake Lang uses it effectively. Others that I'm not thinking of. It's like, all right. If you're attacking Islam from a theological perspective because you're a Christian, all right, obviously you're going to do that. You're a Christian. But if you are seriously using the political perspective, it's like, yo, bro, what are you doing? Okay. Sharia law, Sharia law. The Gulf countries are safe. If you talk poorly about Jesus Christ in those same Gulf countries with Sharia law, you could be killed. I don't make the rules, just saying. And people don't understand what Sharia even is. Sharia law, Sharia law. Do you know what Sharia law is? Tell me what it is. Oh, they kill people for... No. It's all dependent on the ruler. It's religiously motivated law. It's theocratic, but it's dependent on certain situations. It's circumstantial. You know what I mean? That's why the Gulf countries are so safe, by the way. Harsh punishment for idiots. You know? Hey, I'll say this. If the United States had a theocratic regime, Christian, that ruled by the Bible, the country would be significantly better. Hello. Definitely a W take there. If the United States had a Christian theocratic regime that ruled by the Bible, ruled honestly by the Bible, ruled by Protestant principle, Catholic principle, whatever, Muslims would have safe conduct to their mosques. Muslims would have safe conduct to the lands. Wouldn't hurt us. So there is a benefit in like theocratic rule as long as it's not extreme. Again, like I said, the Gulf countries, Saudi Arabia, very safe countries. Yeah, they have harsh punishments for people who mess up, but there's a fruit in that. And there's something to be gained from that. It's that people don't do those things. People actually are hesitant to do such crimes because the punishment is never worth it. That's like that's kind of the point. That's kind of the whole idea. So, and it takes an honest person to admit that. It does. It takes an honest person to admit that. But I don't want to get too theological, but it's just like, bro, it's always the Islam thing. Because if you watch Patrick Bet-David, it's like always Islam. It's like always Islam. He takes any jab. Bro, a Muslim sneezes. Nigga, a Muslim sneezes. Well, I'm a numbers guy, and you see this Muslim. It's like, like, dude, enough with the anti-Islam LARP. Muslim sneezes, bro. Muslim trips, drops his water bottle hits a girl. Now it's, well, I'm a numbers guy, and you see Islam. And I'll admit, Muslims be bugging. There are some attacks, no doubt, where Muslims are responsible and that's it. It's like, that was unacceptable. I'll be the first to condemn it. But hey, like in 2026, is like Islam a legitimate problem in the United States? The answer is absolutely not. You know, me and Sneako debate about the Times Square thing. Yeah, we have our disagreements, whatever. Me, my brother Sneako, we fight. We're on a Discord call for an hour and a half going in circles. But like, we all understand that's not the main issue in our country. We'll have discourse. We'll talk about it. It's relevant, whatever. Gets clicks, gets views. Everybody loves to see it, whatever. But that's not actually the main issue. That's not even the 10th biggest issue. So it's like, hey, you know, wake up. Wake up. Is it 2001? What the fuck is such outdated rhetoric, you know? You got to understand my frustration there. Okay. We're caught up on chats. All right, let's continue to see what Patrick is saying. We'll go for a little longer. Wrap up at some point. But let's see what Patrick had to say. Hey, guys, make sure to like the video if you're enjoying the stream. Helps me out a whole ton. I know there's no shortage of reminders to like the video these days with streamers, but helps us out. So I appreciate the love, guys.
I have a good messaging right now going with ICE agents, going out there working while TSA agents are not working. I don't know what the number is. Over 400 TSA agents have TSA employees have full-on quit since the shutdown. Absent hit.
Yeah, Democrats have terms that they need to be met before they put funding back into DHS. And as a result, TSA workers have not been getting paid. They haven't been working at airports, and airports have seen record amounts of traffic, lines, flight delays, things like that. Or not even flight delays, really. People missing their flights, rather. So, and now Trump is responding to that by putting ICE agents in the position of what was TSA agents, and then now he's deploying the National Guard. It's like, hey, bro, not going to work.
It's 12% of the 30,000 workforce. That's 3,450 as of Sunday. If you're traveling, it's still not a good sign. And some places are addressing it. Some places are not. A hidden $580 million oil bet. I don't even know if it's hidden because we know about it. But it was a $580 million oil bet. Just into it. First thing I want to talk about is story that comes out. U.S. sends 15-point plan to end war with Iran. As Trump says, the regime has agreed to scrap the nuclear program. Okay, so let's read through this. The U.S. has sent a 15-point plan and cease proposal to end the war in the Middle East, and President Trump claims the regime has already...
Patrick is such a polished guy, man. I just wish he was on the right side of these things. I genuinely used to have a lot of respect for him. He's a polished guy. He's smart. He's ambitious. He's got the perfect immigrant story. But then it comes to the whole anti-Islam LARP as well as this war. It's like he's just so bad.
He agreed to a critical part of the peace, no nuclear weapons. They've agreed, Trump said Tuesday, of his biggest demand. Rob, is this the president speaking?
Yes, sir.
Go for it.
What was the turning point to make you want to pursue a ceasefire? A few days ago, you said you wanted to continue bombing Iran.
Oil prices, nigga, I'll tell you. Okay? Oil prices, nigga. Trump felt that oil spike, okay? You don't think people in his admin are telling him, hey, bro, we got to figure some shit out. You don't think the Trump administration, you don't think his key assets, his key partners are in his ear saying, Mr. President, we've got to figure something out. Of course they are. Same guy that got the intelligence go ahead, by the way, that going into war in Iran is a bad idea and we're going to have to put boots on the ground. Same guy, by the way. They told him that. By the way, just making that clear.
Now you want to pursue peace talks. Was there something that happened?
The fact that they're talking to us and they're talking sense. And remember, it all starts with they cannot have a nuclear weapon. Just, I said yesterday, what did they said?
All right, invade North Korea too while you're at it then. Same energy, same energy.
What are the top 10? I said, well, number 1, 2, and 3 is they can't have a nuclear weapon. And they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. And we're talking about that. And I don't want to say in advance, but they've agreed they will never have a nuclear weapon. They've agreed to that.
Okay, so that's what the president's saying. This is the 15 points. Iran must dismantle existing nuclear.
But they're not going to stop their enrichment. Do you understand? They're hedging. That's the thing. Fifth Elemento says $2, 15K subs. W Riyadh was here when it was 500. 07. 07. I said 07, right? 07. Almost said the other thing. Thank you so much, man. Hey, did we hit 15K subs? Hey, guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Certainly that deserves a Don DeMarco. Thank you so much for the 15K subs. We've been at it for about a month. We started in, what's wrong with me? I'm blanking. February, beginning of February. Now we're towards the end of March here, about a month and a half. Already at 15K subs. Thank you so much, guys. I hope you're enjoying the content. I hope that it's entertaining. I hope you're enjoying it. It's always nice when you got a streamer that you like. You know, you turn them on, play them in the background while you're cleaning. Shouldn't be cleaning if you're a guy, but you know, some single guys like us got no girl around, so I gotta clean. But it's nice, you know, nice when you got a streamer you enjoy. So I hope that I'm able to bring that for you guys. God bless all of you. Thank you so much for the love. I want to see something. Sorry to get off track. I want to see something. I want to do this when we have high viewership right now. All of you guys, I know some of you are just listening. You're not actually watching maybe. Maybe you're driving. If you're driving, don't do this. Don't touch your phone, okay? I'm not responsible for any accidents that happens. I am warning anybody. I am not liable. Use your phone at your own discretion if you're in a safe manner to do so. Okay. If you're a Christian or Muslim, throw that in the chat. I just am curious. I'm so curious about the demographic. It really is, like, it gets me, I got to know. It strikes my curiosity at the deepest level. I could do a poll, but if you could run the chat up, that'd be cool. Christian or Muslim? Just want to see. Spam the chat. Let me know, guys. I want to see what my demographic looks like. While we're waiting for that, Albo A says, Patrick Shin, a bet star of David, is a disappointment. He's on the wrong side of history, like you said. Yeah, bro, super disappointing. It's sad because I think he has the brains to discern right from wrong, but okay, Christian, Muslim. Oop, I got to look. Christian, Muslim, Christian, Catholic, omnist. What the hell? Christian, Catholic. Atheist. Come on, bro. All right, bro said Crusader. Muslim. Okay. Catholic, Muslim, Orthodox. W's. Okay, W's. Cool. Christian, Christ is King. Okay. Definitely more Christians in here, but there's some Muslims. Nice. I'm just curious about my demographic. Okay, good amount of Muslims. Got my brown niggas in here, but more so Christians than anything. Nice. Okay. Awesome. That's good, guys. That's good. I got the idea. Hey, 3 Diglets, thank you for the 150. Thank you so much, bro. Appreciate the love. Congrats on 15K. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate your support. You've been here since day one. God bless you, my friend. God bless you, brother. You're a solid dude as well, man. 07, man. 07's in the chat for my guy, 3 Diglets. Love the consistent support, man. Really appreciate it. It means the world. Okay, so more Christians. Someone said Amish. No way. Poll? Here, I'll run a poll real quick. Start a poll. I'm an idiot. I should have just did this. What is wrong with me? Christian, Muslim. All right, I'll run that poll as we continue with the show. What are you? I'm just curious. I'm just curious. Did I do that poll right? I think I did. Okay. Yeah, answer the poll, guys. Hey, sorry. Okay, I'm new to the. I don't know how to work the technology. I didn't know I could do a poll. All right, so let me know. Fifth Elemento, 1,100 in the chat, only 826 likes. Come on, you smash that like button. Hey, yeah, guys, like the video. Thank you so much, Fifth Elemento, for the super chat. Kyle Mitchell says there's a podcaster called Jillian Michaels who has a different spin on the Iran war that does push a pro-American narrative, in case you're curious. Yeah, we can investigate that. Maybe not tonight. We don't have ample time, but here, I'll cue that for tomorrow. It should be live tomorrow, so I'll cue that. Oh, I know this lady. I've seen her before. I've seen her stuff. We'll see what she has to say. But won't be hard to debunk her if she's pro-war. But I'm not sure her position. Thank you so much, Kyle Mitchell, for the super chat, though. All right, yeah, definitely the Christians are mogging Muslims right now. Okay, 70% Christian, 30% Muslim. Okay, nice. Make an atheist option? I'm sure there's just not enough of you guys. It's probably negligible. Okay, let's keep going with PBD as the poll runs up. Answer the poll, guys. I'm just curious. As to what the religious makeup of my viewership is. Goodness gracious, long night.
Nuclear program, that's number one. Number two, Iran must commit never to pursue nuclear weapons. It's the same as number one, but it's like we're never going to have it. Number three, No uranium enrichment on Iranian territory. They're all the same thing, but again, that's number 3. Number 4, Iran must hand its stockpile of enriched uranium to the International Atomic Energy Agency. 444, same topic. 5, the Natanz, Esfahan, and Fordo nuclear facilities must be dismantled. What does that mean? The IAEA must be granted full access to Iran's nuclear facilities. Great. Iran must abandon its regional proxy paradigm. 8, Iran must cease the funding, directing, and arming its proxies. 9, the Strait of Hormuz must remain open. 10, Iran's missile program must be limited in both range and quantity. 11.
This is where it gets unrealistic. I said this earlier. I was right, by the way, vindicated. They want Iran to limit the distance in which their missiles can travel. Do you know how much of a maximalist, ridiculous demand that is? That's where they're really... The nuclear stuff is going far, but like we've done that before under the Obama administration, and so it's feasible. That can materialize. That's possible. But the whole missile, like, not going to happen. Not going to happen. And this is what I call bad faith diplomacy by the United States, because you know they're not going to accept that. So you're just bolstering your reasoning even further and supporting the idea of war and boots on ground, because you can turn around later and say, well, we tried to do a deal. Yeah, your deal meant destroy yourself. Why would they do that?
7, Iran must limit its use of missiles to self-defense. In return, Iran would benefit from 12, the end of sanctions imposed by the international community, the U.S. assistance to advance its civilian nuclear program, and U.S. snapback mechanism allowing for automatic reimposition of sanctions if Iran fails to comply would be removed. Now, this is what they said. Rob, do we have anything of them responding to this? Because I think that was also what the Iranian foreign minister responded to this as well. Tom, I'll come to you first, and then Barry next. Tom, your thoughts on this?
Well, there's basically 4 points to it. When you see 15, Pat was very correctly pointing out in those top 6. So you have A, nuclear program, uranium, manufacturing facilities, that's A. B, Hamas and Hezbollah. You must stop funding them. C, you can build missiles, but only little ones to defend your borders. And then D, the sanctions go away. So it's nukes, Hamas, missiles, and sanctions. And that's a 15-point, what you get down to it. Now, you know, what's interesting about this is...
And what Israel wants as well, what's the biggest threat to Israel right now and has been for a long time? The Houthis and Hezbollah, which are proxy networks right outside of Israel. Of course, the Houthis being located in Yemen. They've been fighting Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince of Saudi Arabia, for several years, since 2018. The United States has directly funded him in such campaign or such war. And then you've got, by the way, this is why the UAE and Saudi Arabia no longer get along as much, as because the UAE used to fight the Houthis alongside Saudi Arabia. Then they disenfranchised, which is a sign that, you know, they kind of went in their own direction looking for autonomy in the region. But he started supporting some fraction groups in the south. And then you've got Hezbollah, which is in southern Lebanon. Hezbollah is very strong. Now, of course, they've been weakened. Qasem Soleimani, who was the head of the Axis of Resistance, was killed in 2020 by U.S. strikes. And then Hassan Nasrallah soon after, I think in 2023, if I'm not mistaken, who was the leader of Hezbollah. And without those leaders, of course, they were weakened significantly. But no doubt, this proxy network poses a big threat to Israel, and Hezbollah is a big piece in the way. Big piece. Shia militant group funded by Iran.
Is, you know, they are so dedicated to it. They tried previously to get them to agree a nuclear program. They didn't do it. You know, this, when I see this, I hope we get some progress on it. I hope there's a negotiation. I hope that all the destruction of so much infrastructure and things that we've gone after is sending a message that gets them over the line. But this is only part of it for me. The other part for me here is, who are they negotiating with? Who's going to sign the paper? The current regime. What happened about a new regime that would bring the people back to the glory of Iran, and all the people that were protesting in the streets and the ones that were slaughtered for something? Pat, who signs this? If the current regime signs it, okay, so what? The war's over, but now don't we go back to the people?
Yeah, I mean, the question then becomes, so it's neither a regime change or a regime collapse. So which one was it?
Correct. But now the current regime is going to sign a document.
Of course. So guess what?
You're in charge.
What was accomplished?
For the people that are now in first of all, what do you think the IRGC does minutes after this gets signed if it's the same regime?
Oh, they're going to go back.
We have Pride Month. They're going to have head bashing month. You know, it's terrible.
Yeah, that won't be changing. That won't be changing. Barry, where are you at with this?
So then why are we at war? You've effectively answered the burning question. Why are we at war? We're at war for Israel. No doubt this is Israel's war. Again, Charlie Kirk echoed the same thing. Biggest Christian Zio with tons of influence on the youth in modern history. We're at war for Israel. This is Israel's bidding, no doubt. Okay, covered that, been there, check that box. What does Israel want from this war? More than the nullification of their nuclear enrichment or their nuclear capabilities, as well as their missiles. They want regime change. Because even if they somehow nullify the missiles, or they, I don't know, these maximalist demands are met, let's say, just for the sake of argument they are, you still have the IRGC, which can just resume certain programs. And by the way, that proxy network that I just highlighted how much of a risk it is to Israel, that still exists. So it's like, hey, if you're not getting regime change, well, what are we doing? That's the whole point. Whole point. Looks like that 15-point peace plan. Looks like Patrick Bet-David is coming in terms like, we're not going to achieve this goal. So, yo, I'm dead. Adam is not on the show. Look at the top comment. Someone said Adam is recovering from the roast. Oh my goodness. Yeah, maybe he won't show face on camera for a couple days. Just from the brief reaction I had, it was brutal, bro.
So look, you're right, Tom, clearly. But what we would accomplish is the three important things. If we could stop the money flow to Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, if we could do that, that's a very big plus for us. If we can keep oil flow through the Strait of Hormuz without it being a future threat that it will be shut down, that's great for us. That's great for worldwide economy.
Again, I've already highlighted the United States is not going to share any control in the Strait of Hormuz unless the IRGC doesn't exist. The reason why is because the Strait of Hormuz has been the biggest vantage point of leverage for the IRGC to deal in economic war against not only the United States, but the global world as a whole. And so that back-end effect and the blame is pushed towards Donald Trump. As long as that blame stays in that direction, then Iran can weaponize that against the United States, no matter how much military infrastructure or how we impose our military might on Iran, or how much military infrastructure we actually destroy. They have control of the strait. They have a big weapon that we don't have. And always remember, it's a lot easier for Iran because they're local to such a passageway. The Strait of Hormuz is something they've been controlling. They control about 80% Oman, the other 20, although that's negligible at this point. Always remember, for them, it's a lot easier to disrupt that passageway than it is for the United States to secure and reopen it. All Iran has to say is, hey, we're going to throw drones at your ships. Hey, we're going to impose landmines within the water. Hey, we're going to block you. Hey, we're going to charge you. Hey, we're crazy. And really, that's what it is. These ships are afraid that they're crazy. And so what the United States has to do is remove this threat and then guarantee the threat is gone. And it's like Trump already tried the insurance idea a couple weeks back where he said, we'll insure the ships, we'll give you military support or protection or whatever. We'll ensure that you're okay. It's like the ships were like, hey, that's not doing much for me. I don't want to die. Way easier for them to disrupt that passageway. It is their passageway. They're familiar with that part of the world. That's where their country is. It's right off of their coast. They've always controlled it. Now they're going to seize all control of it and make it lucrative. They're going to monetize it for themselves. And maybe they knew prior, hey, monetizing the strait to an extreme degree, it could put a U.S. target on our back. And there's always been a U.S. target on their back effectively, but actually caused the U.S. to go to war with them. Now we're a full-fledged war with them. Now all bets are off. They can just try and charge in everybody, which is what they've expressed they're going to do. That's where the wind is blowing. That's what the news is reporting. So yeah, asymmetric warfare, or were we just losing strategically? It's like, I don't know if asymmetric even makes sense at this point. We are just losing strategically unless these Marines make a difference. But I don't want these Marines to even be there. Problem after problem. It's like we can just keep going.
And I think the stock market's kind of reacting to that this morning. And of course, the several points on the no nukes that you mentioned. The thing I worry about is compliance, because we've heard this from them before. So I don't know how they would get around having Iran potentially do something that's sneaky. If that could be contemplated, then I think that the give on the side of the U.S. is saying, hey, in lieu of boots on the ground, in lieu of loss of life, in lieu of further economic harm, we have to leave the current regime in place. I think that's, when you sum it up, and Tom did an excellent job as well. I think when you sum it up, that's the give that is being thought.
And that is a concession Israel will not be willing to make. Hello, they're the ones who brought us in this war. Their demands will be met by one way or another. Remember, they have a nuke. Remember, Israel has tons of nuclear capability. Who's to say if the United States pulls out and says, fuck this, we can't topple the IRGC, now the United States looks like the losing side of the war because we imposed some sort of regime change motivation. We tried to attack them. We posed big weapons. We bragged and boasted. Pete Hegseth took to the Pentagon. He asked for $200 billion, by the way. Asked for all this money, said we have air dominance. We've destroyed Iran. We won. We pull out. The IRGC still exists. Who's to say Israel says, you know what, America, we'll figure this out. Wipes Iran off the face of the planet. Tactical nuke. It's on the table for them. Now, I don't know if we're the only ones who have such precise nukes. I'm not educated onto that. That I don't know. But you cannot put that past Israel, really. You can't put that past them. And that's something we can do. That's not off the table. That's still feasible. There was talks of that a couple weeks ago in the media, speculation, but that can certainly come back to surface and actually be real if we realize we can't get through the IRGC, which right now doesn't seem like we can.
Of to say, okay, if we can accomplish these things, that's pretty good progress. We don't get everything, but it's pretty good progress.
Brandon.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think if we make peace with them with this current, whatever you call it, regime right now, whoever's leading things, I think that's a worse situation than before. And I mean, if we do happen to make a peace deal with them, the most important thing is that they actually agree to let us inspect their facilities thoroughly. Because if you guys remember the Iran nuclear deal that Obama made, it was essentially we give Iran a ton of money, billions and billions of dollars, in return for them promising not to develop nuclear weapons. I think they were supposed to cap uranium enrichment at like 3%, but they never let us inspect it. So they were doing all the things they weren't supposed to do. We weren't holding them accountable for the inspections. So that's why they have things like the missiles that go much farther than we thought.
What do you mean? They agreed to inspections. They agreed to move all of their nuclear assets to make it more difficult. They agreed to the whole plan. It was a multi-point plan, but the reason why that plan didn't last is because Israel was upset about it, because that plan allowed Iran economic freedom, or really economic mobility, right? The sanctions being lifted meant that Iran could fund their proxy network, give them more weapons. What does that mean for Israel? They cannot annex the West Bank. They cannot annex Gaza. They cannot annex southern Lebanon, something that has been a clear goal of theirs since the 60s and 70s. So that's really why. Don't forget, when Obama proposed that deal, the Israelis were furious. Benjamin Netanyahu came and got standing ovations from Congress. A foreign leader in our nation undermined our current leader, our actual leader, our home-based leader, and said, screw that. And on top of that, Obama opposed the Israeli settlements. So he was unfavorable for the Israelis towards the end of his presidency. But the Iran nuclear deal was great. Everything he's saying is not true. They agreed to everything. They signed on the dotted line. And here, actually, you want to see how many countries were on board with the plan he's saying wasn't going to work? Here it is here. I'll just show you better than I can tell you. Here we are. We have the JCPOA, known as the Iran nuclear deal, is a 2015 agreement between Iran and the P5+1, USA, UK, France, China, Russia, plus Germany, and the EU. It restricts Iran's nuclear program, such as limiting uranium enrichment. By the way, 3% is nothing in exchange for lifting international sanctions. Okay? The IAEA received enhanced monitoring authority over Iran's nuclear facilities. He's lying. Flat out lie. We'll keep going, though.
I don't necessarily think that they have enriched uranium to the degree that people are saying on using it as the grounds to do this invasion, but...
Hey, good point. Maybe their uranium isn't that enriched, so why the fuck are we in this war? You fuck yourself up again. Because Trump said that we obliterated their nuclear capabilities for the next few years after Operation Midnight Hammer, when we struck the 3 nuclear sites back in June. But then we turn around and say, oh, the nukes are a problem, going to war. Which one is it?
They could have all kinds of things we don't know about because we didn't hold them accountable with the inspection. So I think at this point, with how far we've gone, I think you go harder and go more savage with them, and just get it over with, because it's going to be a worse situation. Like, why are we delaying the inevitable? They're not going to stop giving money to the terrorist groups. They're not going to stop trying to have a nuclear weapon, because look how much we leave North Korea alone. Now they have nuclear weapons, so they're trying to follow that model.
Yeah, and by the way, Rob, if you want to play this clip, because the foreign minister Araghchi said a completely different thing. This is just a couple days ago. Go ahead, Rob.
I think the question of talking with Americans or negotiation with Americans once again would be on the table, because we have a very bitter experience of talking with Americans. We negotiated with them last year in last June, and they attacked us in the middle of negotiations. And again this year, they tried to convince us that this time is different. They promised us that they don't have any intention to attack us. And they wanted to resolve the Iran's nuclear question peacefully and to find a negotiated solution, and we finally accepted. But again, after 3 rounds of negotiation, and after the American team in the negotiation,
you know what I would say if I was at this table with Patrick Bet-David and all these other idiots? You know what I would say right away? Obama introduced a plan that allowed the IAEA to inspect their nuclear enrichment capability, distort it to other lands and distort it to other places, so it's a little bit more difficult for them to do so, as well as the fact that it dropped down to 3%. They agreed to it. And so what I would say is, hey, I get it with the proxy networks and whatever have you, although those exist for Iran to exist. If they didn't exist, then Israel would guarantee their destruction in a matter of moments. But regardless, I'll just concede there. I'll grant them the argument. What I would say is, why did Trump tarnish the deal? Hello? Obama had this great deal figured out. And I don't mean to do the Obama glaze, but retrospect, in hindsight's always 2020, by the way, it was a good deal. And Trump comes in, I believe it's in 2018, so just a couple years after he takes office, and he says the Iran nuclear deal is over. What happens after that? He considers the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, a terrorist organization. Mike Pompeo specifically does this. And so then they kill Qasem Soleimani and other high-ranking military officials. Not just Qasem Soleimani and Hassan Nasrallah, those are the key ones, but there's several others in between. Ones that manage the proxy groups in Iraq, Syria, so on. Bahrain even. And so it's like, why did Trump do that? Why did Trump do that? Burning question that I don't see them answering. Why did Trump undermine the deal that figured out this problem that could have not have been figured out for years? We were struggling to answer the Iran nuclear issue, and other countries were concerned about their enrichment. Other countries were worried. That's why all these countries jumped on board like that at the drop of a hat. Once they saw the deal, they didn't even read. They signed. Because what it meant is Iran would limit their enrichment of uranium and they would get inspected. That's what mattered. But the only unhappy party was Israel. So if you're unhappy about the JCPOA, where's your interest lie? Because it cannot be with the United States. Period. That's an ironclad argument. No way you can contend that argument in good faith. No way. No way.
Said itself that we made a big progress. Still, they decided to attack us. So I don't think, talking with the Americans anymore would be, on our agenda anymore.
But we undermined the shit out of them several times. We had talks and then we attacked them. Why would they trust us? Use your head. Put yourself in their positions. These people are fighting for their existence, bro. Get real, bro. Stop being so naive. Stop being so dense.
By the way, his ask, number one, full lifting of sanctions, which is one of the things they're talking about. That's their number one priority. Removal of U.S.
Yeah, no shit. Because why are the civilians dissatisfied with the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps? Why are they dissatisfied with the president? Why are they dissatisfied with the military side of the government and the non-military side, the democratic side of the government in Iran? Why is the population dissatisfied? Because inflation is high as hell. Because of U.S. sanctions, which is one of our most powerful weapons we use against countries we don't favor or countries we don't align with. Hello, Russia. Hello. This is a big weapon. Although the world has been able to kind of see ways around sanctions, it's still very damaging. We destroy their economy as a result of these sanctions.
U.S. military presence in the region, meaning closure of U.S. bases in the Gulf. That's what their ask is.
No way.
I mean, who's going to be doing that? Then reparations, which is, you got to pay for all this stuff that happened.
You want to make maximalist demands and having them destroy their entire proxy network and everything that guarantees their safety in their existence, then yeah, they're going to ask you to get rid of the bases that are posing a threat right across the water from them. Something they don't have against us, by the way. Same thing with the Cuban Missile Crisis. Soviet leader said, hey, I'll get rid of these nuclear missiles that are aimed at center points in the United States if you get rid of your missiles that are pointed from Italy and Turkey. That was the case with the Soviet Union in the 60s. They had nukes pointed at the U.S. It was a Cold War. It was the closest we've ever been to a nuclear conflict. John F. Kennedy conceded because he's one of the best presidents we've ever seen. He stopped a nuclear war, and he said, look, I'll remove these. By the way, they kept this classified for a long time because it wasn't a good show of power from the United States. We removed our nuclear assets or our missiles aimed at the Soviet Union that were just so happily or easily or strategically planted in Italy and Turkey. And in turn, they would get rid of the nukes that were pointed at the United States from Cuba. So it's like you can use that similar line of logic here. It's totally reasonable for Iran after this conflict to not want U.S. bases right on their border. But we need that. See, this is why this is a multifaceted issue. We need that. I want U.S. bases in the Middle East because that gives us more power. That gives us more control. That guarantees these countries safety, and they'll pour economic investment back into ours as a result. But now Iran makes a reasonable request. They say, hey, they can't be here anymore because you've weaponized them against us and you're encroaching on our land. So effectively, all these U.S. bases are Israeli bases because we serve their interests entirely. That's why we're at war. So of course they're going to want those bases removed, or at least, by the way, I said this, got to vindicate myself. I said weeks back, if this war happens, Iran will not want those bases anymore as a matter of a ceasefire stipulation. Point blank period. Said that. Cut dry. I said that. Not surprised. They're either going to want those bases gone or they're going to want them nullified to the point where there's no U.S. assets there, no THAADs or no missile capabilities, no sort of offensive capability, no defensive capability, nothing. Which at that point renders them useless. See how starting this war created like 50 other problems that did not exist? Starting this war started so many other issues that did not previously exist. We started this war and we opened up several cans of worms. Ones that we're not going to be able to close, by the way. Because now the element of trust is gone. Now the good faith and diplomacy, that possibility is gone. It existed under Obama and Trump destroyed it. Trump destroyed the deal and called Iranians terrorists, and then we killed all their leaders. So why would they trust us? Forget about the whole, is it terrorism, is it not? Why would they trust us? Hey, dumbass, why would they trust us?
Control of revenue from Strait of Hormuz, ability to change or control shipping flow, keep the missile program, right to nuclear capability, security guarantees that U.S. won't attack again, respect recognition of regional power, acknowledge our role in the Middle East. That's what they're asking for.
Yeah, they're not going to get that. And here's the other side of it, is that by the time this 5-day pause in attacks ends, the U.S. will be in a position militarily because troops would have arrived there. So, Trump is always very good at kind of talking one way or having one way and then using the element of surprise to our advantage. So I wonder, is that another repeat of that if we are positioning ourselves, buying some time for that, and then, Brandon said, maybe going in a little bit more, to use his word, a little bit more savage. I mean, we really don't know, but that is a possibility.
So, Rob, do you have the clip of what MBS, which clip is this here? Because I want to play what MBS said.
This is one of the Iranian officials listing their demands for a ceasefire.
This is when?
This was earlier this week, I believe Monday or Tuesday.
Go ahead.
Until all our damages are recovered, until all economic sanctions are lifted, and until we obtain an international legal guarantee against against America's interference in Iran's affairs, this war will continue. And I'll explain why such a decision has been made by our nation, our leader, and our armed forces. I will state in the interview that...
Watch him say exactly what I just said.
Whether our conflict with America is just a 12-day war and a Ramadan war, or rather a 47-year saga that we must bring to an end right here and now.
Okay, so that's that on what he's saying. Similar request to what I just read. Okay, MBS comes out. I have the comments here where he says he fears if Trump retreats now, Saudi Arabia and the rest of the region will be left to face angry Iran. I think he told us to, is this the interview wrap or?
Hey, I just said this war created problems that did not exist prior. MBS being fearful of the Iranian regime is one of them. Iran and Saudi Arabia, by the way, a couple years ago, finally had made peace after years of tension. They were in Cold War forever. Forever. Right when things kind of simmered down, things started to get a little bit better. Now MBS is terrified. Rightfully so, because he saw his big hub for economic growth, Riyadh, a city in Saudi Arabia, get annihilated by missiles or drones that effortlessly are deployed by Iran. He said, whoa, this is a problem. Saudi Arabia needs tourism. That's how they make money. Oil is not going to be the hottest commodity. I've said this like 100,000 times in the last few streams. So if missiles are flying over people's heads, if people are getting droned to shit, no one's going to invest money there. No one's going to go on vacation there. Same thing with the UAE. Same thing with all these Gulf countries. Very clean, safe, beautiful, by the way, countries. They won't be able to capitalize off of that advantage.
I'm looking for the clip.
Yeah.
I found this clip. I'm not sure if it's him, though.
Yeah, angry Iran. He told us to New York Times. Then yesterday, when the president is being interviewed, they asked the president. I don't know if you saw that clip, Rob. They're asking him, hey, I just texted it to you, Rob. I'm sorry, I texted it to myself. Reporter asks the president, is MBS encouraging you to do certain things related to Iran? And here's what the president had to say. Go forward.
Saudi Arabia. What do you hear with Saudi Arabia?
Just hearing that you've been talking and that he has been encouraging you to do certain things related to Iran. Can you share
He's a warrior. He does. Yeah, he's a warrior. He's fighting with us, by the way. Saudi Arabia has been excellent, and
he's a warrior.
UAE, excellent. And I will tell you.
Translation: he's doing my bidding. Finally, I have support in this war because NATO's not jumping in.
Qatar, incredible. Saudi Arabia. What do you hear with Saudi?
Yeah, so there you have it. So he's responding the way he is. And Rob, I don't know if there was an interview with him or not. It was just like a face-to-face interview. Barry, make a good point because, when you think about this, is he putting out the 15 points to give a little bit more time because he got an update that USS Tripoli needs 4 more days, needs 5 more days. Because I got a quote here, very weird quote. And I don't know if I like this quote, but let me read this quote to you from Netanyahu. Here's what Netanyahu just said, okay? Look what his quote is. Netanyahu just said, when asked, how long do you think this is going to last? He told Fox News, may take some time, but it's not going to take years. He vowed to keep striking Iran's enemies and help topple its regime after missile attacks he called Iran's behavior threatening the entire world. So there's 2 different problems. There's the Israel problem, there's the world problem, there's the America problem. The Israel problem is what? You just attacked these guys, guess what, Tom, with the Israel problem? They are furious with you right now. They're not happy with you, with what you have going on. And Israel has to sit there and say, dude, if we don't finish this off right now, you think they're going to let this go? They're going to come back and take us out? Then you have a world problem. Did this even make the world a safer place? Did it make Gulf states feel better? Did it make them feel more comfortable? Are Europeans and NATO allies feeling more comfortable?
Hey, Patrick, really good points. So as you're saying this again, turn back around and tell me why you ever supported this war. Because you see how many problems it had created out of thin air, right? So why did you support the war in the first place? Yeah, you're right. It did create several problems. But unfortunately, if you attack a country, they do have the right to defend themselves. They didn't coin that term, by the way. You know who did. So it's like, hey,
about this.
Like, get real.
Then the last one is what? Trump the president. How is this sitting in America? How is America reacting to this? Is America sitting there because we just had
Elijah Belton says, thank you for the information. Thank you for the super chat, bro. Welder34 says, OSS Army. Hey, love you guys. Appreciate you. What's your view on minimalism and drill rap? One chest, $2. Good question. Drill rap. Oh, I'll be honest. Okay, I get it. Like, we'll switch gears a moment. Drill rap or like aggressive rap music, it's not a good thing for the black community. It's not. Am I guilty of sometimes listening to it? Maybe. Sometimes it goes a little hard. Okay, Chef G, you got your New York drill artist. But overall, I don't really listen to drill rap that much. I've been in the house lately, recently. Don Toliver, whatever. And then views on minimalism. I'm not a minimalist, I'll be honest with you, man. I like nice stuff. Me and my brother are very different when it comes to that, I'll be honest. I like to dress nice. I like drip. I like style. I like trends. Be honest with you, I like that kind of stuff, I'm not a minimalist. If I see a pair of shoes that I like, I'll buy them. I'm not a hype beast, though. Like, I'll wear Chucks. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll wear Vans. Or I don't really wear Vans. I'll wear, like, Sambas, whatever. I'm not a hype beast, but I do like to dress nice. I do like to, dazzle up. So I'm not a minimalist in that regard. As well as the fact that, like, if I want something nice, like, if I, you know what I mean? Like, I'll spend money on something. But I don't constantly buy clothes. I'll do a round of buying clothes for every season, whatever. But definitely not a minimalist. I like nice stuff. I'm not frugal, definitely not. I buy nice things here and there. I don't have like a Rolex or anything. I could buy a Rolex if I wanted. I don't know if I want to do that until I really have a shit ton of money, you know what I mean? But yeah, I know. Me and my brother are different in that regard, no doubt. So someone said you don't like Myron skinny jeans. Now I'm on the fashion trends. I wear I wear some baggy jeans, a little zip up hoodie. But when I go to work, I just wear like normal casual wear. I'll wear like some slacks. I know how to dress for the occasion. I'll dress casually. I just came back from the gym, so I got like zip up hoodie, black tee. I got joggers on right now. Came straight from the gym. I'm going to actually shower after stream. But yeah, I do like nice stuff. You know what I'm saying? Do like nice stuff. Good question. Good question. Drip, man. Check out the gram. Fuck it. We'll have fun here. Hey, I like my style, okay? We be getting fly. Little self-praise real quick. Little self-glaze break, all right? Little self-glaze. Check out the gram. I got to really focus on the segment. Sorry, guys. Little drip. Grad pick. Here I am here. I definitely know exactly where the camera is. I'm looking away. Here I am again. I know where the camera is. See what I'm saying, man? I got a little drip. You know, we like nice clothes. Oops. You know, we began to fly. Got the little suit here. You know, I'm a little fitted up in the profile picture. So I'll be dressing, you know. I'll be dressing. Check out the gram. Follow me on Instagram. Really follow my clips page, though, guys. I'm trying to grow this. Shout out to my guy, Hanimi. He's been running it, doing a great job. So, but yeah. You know, we got a little drip. We got a little drip. Someone said L drip. All right, bro. What are you, 40? Yo, what the fuck? What is the chat? 40, bro? I'm fly. But that posture, what's wrong with my posture? What's wrong with my posture? Hey, what's wrong with my posture? You know, got a little drip. Hang on, I'm going through these. I do have like super Gen Z drip though. Like, I'll be honest, I can see how the older gentlemen are like, hey, bro, it's a little gay. I hear you. I hear you. I've kind of moved away from like always dressing nice and shit. You know, but we began fly, man. We began fly. Got the, you know what I'm saying? Little drip. Little drip. See what I'm saying? This is more professional. I've been leaning towards this style of clothes recently. This is me. I want to be clean. You know? This is more like LA. Okay, I got the chain here. I get it. A little, fair enough. Okay, a little crop tee. Little zest. That one's a little too crop, to be honest. I'm being brutally honest here. You know, baggy jeans, boots. Hey, nigga, if you ain't fly, don't say none. As me in the gym. Little drip, you know, little drip. Okay? We're hip. So, somebody said change your battery. Bro, that's the, I have a sound effect. I don't actually, that's my smoke alarm's not going off. Okay. Little break, you know. We've been politic heavy, so I'm having fun here. Conqueror says, great content, brother. Keep up the great work. So let's assume regime change after a bloody war. How long till Israel fully betrays us? A great question. And that's the problem. You know, probably not long, man. Probably not wrong. Wrong. This is Asian accent. Probably not long, bro. So that's why, honestly, regime change does not serve American interests long term. It doesn't. Yeah, I'll be honest. That the crop shirt is crazy. That's a little zest max. I'll be honest. I'll concede to that. Maybe I should remove that from the highlight. Bro, the problem is, okay, I bought the shirt. It fit perfect. And then I dried it like an idiot. Then I put it back on. I was like, fuck. And I took the picture and I posted it. So it's like, don't LARP. But, you know, you get a little fly, got a little drip. Jeremiah says, Rhea got the old money fits. Yeah, I love the old money style. But look, like I'll dress for the occasion. I won't embarrass you. You invite me to your wedding, I won't embarrass you. You invite me to an event, I won't embarrass you. And by the way, a lot of fits that I don't post, I'll just wear casual, slim, straight jeans, you know, like some white kicks, plain t-shirt. That's been kind of the vibe, you know. I moved to another part of Connecticut. I used to live at home. Now I'm living somewhere else in Connecticut, right outside of New York. And so now, like, my fits are very just, I'm matching the crowd I'm around, you know? Like, if I'm around a lot of people who look like me, then I'll try to dress the par in some way. But, you know, people say I'm, like, whitewashed and stuff, whatever. Someone said remove that one immediately, Gangi. All right, fuck off. Fuck off. You niggas just don't have drip, okay? You don't got drip, nigga. Don't be mad because I'm fly and you're not, buddy, okay? Don't be mad because I'm fly and you're not. So it's that medium coercive. Yo, this chat is actually so funny. Yo, this chat is hilarious. We got drip, bro. I can dress, okay? Nah, you guys are actually dead funny. This is funny. This is a nice little break. I'm tired of Patrick Bet-David right now. He's pissing me off. He's pissing me the fuck off. I had to like segue from that. We'll finish up. We'll conclude with the video a little more. We'll jump off in a moment. A little more. You know, I want to make it a longer stream for you guys. But, yeah, bro, I'm young. I'm 24. I'm young, bro. Anyways, get back to the let's get back to the regularly scheduled programming. Let's get back to the show. Okay. But yeah, don't say I don't got drip. I'm not a minimalist. I'm not an idiot with my spending, though. I don't have designer clothes and shit, but don't say I don't got drip, okay? Can't say I don't got drip. You can say it's a little zest. I'm not going to lie. I might have to take that off the story. But you can't say I'm not fly.
Just had a Democrat that won in Palm Beach. Is it Palm Beach? Emily, I don't know what her last name is.
Emily Gregory.
Emily Gregory, who just won in Palm Beach. And Democrat flips Florida State House district that includes Trump's Mar-a-Lago, okay? I mean, that's his house. So what are they saying? Tom, you made a good point earlier that,
this surfaced today.
We've talked about this for the last 4 or 5 years. If there's one thing we've been consistent about, don't worry about Democrats and Republicans. Who runs America is independents, okay? That's who runs American elections. If independents are kind of going like this, it's like, hey, just want to show we're not fully with this, okay? Your base may be with you, this may be with you, but us independents, we're kind of leaning this way. Do you see that pattern kind of happening, Tom?
Yeah, this is a flip of a district. This was a Republican, this was a GOP district. And now Gregory has won it, the special election. And so now you look at it and say, okay, what does this say?
By a couple hundred votes, by the way. And the Boca guy won by like 13, 14 votes.
Right, and then under audit, it went down to 3 votes and even 1 vote in Boca. So that was debated back and forth right on the edge of a knife. So what this says is that the independents in Florida are basically not saying, hey, overnight I became liberal, but what they're saying is, I don't like what's going on, and this is the way I'm leaning.
And of course, look, this is the tale of time. If you guys don't know, currently Democrat Emily Gregory won a Florida special election on Tuesday, flipping a state legislative district that is home to Mar-a-Lago. If you don't know, that's like Trump's second residence. He's there almost every weekend, probably not currently because of the war. He's probably in the Pentagon or the White House a lot more. But again, the president had endorsed the rival of Emily Gregory. Despite that, still lost by a couple hundred votes. This is where, and this is a story as old as time, or a tale as old as time. This is consistent with what we're going to continue to see. Democrats are going to take back control of a lot of legislation within the United States, Congress, the House, the Senate, whatever have you. And it's because Donald Trump has made the worst decisions. Remember, you got the Epstein, forget the war, you got the Epstein files, then you also got the fact that ICE is highly disliked. They're not popular, they're not favorable. So it's just like everything has culminated. This war is the cherry on top. And of course, Trump is cooked in the midterms. And J.D. Vance is also cooked as well. He might try to save face, and I've seen some lies surface, but I think it's over for him. Could be wrong. Maybe the American people are gullible, but I think it's over for him and everybody else who's a part of the administration. This is what I'm saying, bro. People sway. No one's ideologically centered. J.D. Vance used to hate Trump. He was a never Trumper. Now this dude is Mr. MAGA-based right-wing Giga Chad. What happened? Same thing with Tulsi Gabbard, who was the director of national intelligence inside of Trump's cabinet in 2019 during Democratic debates on MSNBC. She said verbatim that Trump will make a huge mistake in sabotaging the Iran nuclear deal. You now serve Trump. Now you have to answer questions from Senator Ossoff in front of the entire country. You look like a dumbass. If you guys didn't see that, that was a few days ago. And this was after Joe Kent had resigned. Don't you see where the wind is blowing? Everybody's hopping off the Trump ship, and that means a lot of people will lean left. But again, don't take that in good faith. Democrats will weaponize whatever they can to gain power, but a lot of these people aren't ideologically centered. So something's brewing. We'll see what happens. It's going to be a very interesting development for local politics as we get closer and closer to November. But expect some upsets, man. Expect some up. This is the result. This is the punishment of such poor choices from this GOP. Such poor choice from this GOP, we will feel the back end effects. Consequences are soon to come. All right, guys, if you have any questions, send them in. We're going to close out in a moment, but any questions I'm willing to answer, just super chat in, and we will go over whatever it is that you guys want to go over very briefly, but I'll wrap it up. I got work tomorrow. Got to get back to the Matrix tomorrow. Broke wagey over here. Sorry. Not financially free yet. Hopefully soon, though, God willing. All right. Sleech says, what do you think of Dagestani Muslims? I wish we had their level of discipline in America. Thanks for the $5. Yeah, man, they've changed the UFC, that's for sure. But, I mean, you get Russian, you get Muslim, you put that together, that's like a disciplined, crazy, psycho person. So, Ivan Bosyuk says, hi, Riyadh, as long as you dress... Hey, thanks for the huge super chat, man. $50. Thank you so much for that. As long as you dress good and clean, your drip is fine. LOL. Everyone has their own style. Love your takes from Myron. I listen while I can while working. I work a lot. Today, after work, I'm listening to you swapping out my engine. Hey, fire. Swapping out your engine on what? What do you got? Truck? What car you got? That's really cool, man. I'm into cars, too. Hey, I'm a car guy. That was really nerdy. I don't know why I said it like, hey, I like cars too. Sorry. But thank you so much for the $50, man. And yeah, I like to be drippy. I ain't gonna lie, that one picture, I will concede. Lil Zest Max. That's not gonna look good later. The enemies are gonna use that against me later. That's already been screenshotted. They're already planning to destroy my image with that. Okay. I think we're all caught up on chats. Right? Yeah, we're all caught up. Fun stream tonight, guys. Really. Oh, did I? I don't think I read all this. Oh, sorry, guys. I missed some chats. So sorry. Yeah, I'm an idiot. Okay, Nino Assyrian. So thank you so much, my friend, for the super chat. I forgot. I didn't even read this. This war is to destroy BRICS, IR, and the UA are proxies to ultimately weaken Russia and stop China growth. In 5 years, China will be fully self-sufficient. The U.S. is like now or never. What do you mean? Wars to destroy BRICS? Yeah, I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, potentially. But at the end of the day, the petrodollar is going to lose influence regardless, right? That's just the way the world is moving. Oil is not as essential as it once was. It's still very essential, but its need, the demand for it is incrementally, or its trajectory is down. It's not up. So it's like, yeah, BRICS is an issue, but really the big issue here is that axis on the other side of the planet. Russia and China will always support Iran from a back door. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, true. Jeremiah True, thanks for the $2. Realizing normies are not informed. I appreciate what you were doing and glad you sprinkle in religion info too. Thanks so much, Gorilla Mike. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, man. And it's like guys, remember, I still have a normal job. So like I hate to be like, I'm based and everyone's a normie, but it's kind of true. So like, I spend a lot of time with people. With people who are not informed. And that's fine, bro. Not everybody's into politics. Who cares? People just want to worry about their life. Totally understandable. But when people do have opinions about these conflicts like Iran or so on, they're always almost wrong with the people that I know at work. So it's unfortunate. Jeremiah True, what types of cars do you mess with? What types of cars do you mess with? Did you read that back, bro? Thanks for the $2. What type of cars do I like, though? Good question. I really love German cars. I love a BMW M3, M4. AMG, not the craziest guy about an AMG, but AMGs are cool. So, yeah. I like German cars. Really love German cars. I'm not crazy about hypercars or supercars, really. But my dream car is a 911. Porsche 911 GT2 RS. Dream car. God willing, one day I'll have it. Okay. The poll is finalized. 73% Christian, 27% Muslim. Okay, W, more Christians than Muslims. I didn't expect that. I thought it'd be more down the middle, but we got a lot of Christians watching. Shout out to you guys, W. All right, guys, we will wrap up the stream here. Had a ton of fun tonight. Pause. Really good stream, lots of information. And we'll resume the news either tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday, correct? Yeah. So, or technically today at this point, because we broke in midnight, if you're Eastern Coast at least, or you're East Coast. So we will resume the news either tomorrow or Friday. I don't know if there's going to be a major development tomorrow. I'm expecting more of groundbreaking or shocking news coming Friday. Something with these groups that have been deployed to the Middle East. So we'll see. Hey, X-Trader, thanks so much for the super chat, bro. At $50, he says, realistically, we are seeing a downfall of USD if Iran does indeed trade oil on a different currency. Yuan ruble, etc. I don't see U.S. winning in any way, shape, or form. U.S. greatest ally either wins. Yen economy booming. Yes. Good point. Me and my brother said that the other day as well. We noticed that trend. That Chinese currency is on the upward tick. So, look, the reason why I know for a fact our currency is definitely not where it used to be, petrodollar, everything else in between, which is how we're able to capitalize. That's how everybody has to use the U.S. dollar to trade in. We're losing that hegemony very slowly but surely because of the fact that we invaded Venezuela. That was a tell to the fact that our currency is in fact falling. That was the big benefit there. Forget Maduro, forget communism, forget Israel. Really the biggest thing there was exploitation of oil and the fact that the petrodollar could be losing influence, some sort of combative technique against BRICS. That's the whole essence of it. That's what all the experts said. That's kind of the obvious point of it. That was a direct sign, as well as the fact that, we do have an obsession with having influence in the other side of the world. That's why we have so much deep relationship ties with these Gulf countries. We want to keep them in favor of the U.S. dollar. We don't ever want them to switch up. So this war is definitely not going to get us in a better direction in regards to our currency, but what are you going to do when we don't have full control over our government or our policies? Fifth Elemental, so you like the Supra? I have a 2024 manual transmission. Yeah, bro, I love Toyota Supra. It has a B58, but I'm an automatic guy because I just want to win a race. I don't care about shifting gears. I could drive stick, but like not my thing. Jeremiah True, thank you for joining the membership, my friend. God bless you, bro. Appreciate the super chats and the love tonight. But yeah, X-Trader, yeah. We are seeing an uptick, but remember, this could be temporary just because of the fact of the Strait of Hormuz being closed. You're going to see a lot of volatility, a lot of jumps, a lot of nuance within the global markets, things that will resume back to normal after everything is concluded. But for right now, yeah, you're going to see other countries capitalize. But a lot of Asian countries are actually going to be hurt because of the Strait of Hormuz being closed, because a lot of them do receive tons of energy and assets, rare earth, oil from these Middle Eastern countries that can't really export effectively or efficiently. Not X-Trader, X-Raider, sorry. Thank you so much for joining the membership. God bless you. Because they seizing assets of other countries. Yes, Nino Assyrian, exactly. Thank you for the $2. Sorry for missing your super chat early. Okay. Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate everything. Again, we'll either be back tomorrow or Friday. I don't want to force the news. There may not be really nothing to go over tomorrow, dead ass. But there may be a development, so we'll see. I'll probably be live tomorrow. I'll be real with you. And then Friday, maybe I'll be back with my brother, but I know he'll be back. Saturday, we're always with my brother. So come check out the stream. Really appreciate all the love. Jeremiah says, I can't spell to save my life, but when will the next time you hop on stream? Thanks for $5, man. No, it's all good. Probably tomorrow. Even if it's a shorter stream, I'll make sure that I come on and go over something, because there are some things in Lebanon that I wanted to talk about. I just didn't have the chance to talk about it tonight. Whoa! 3 Diglets! 20 gifted! Yo, bro. Are you in the Matrix? Yo, W's in the chat for 3 Diglets, bro. Huge W. You can't be in the Matrix. You're definitely like a boss business owner, bro. Let me get some. Well, I'm saying let me get some money with you. You're giving me money. Thank you so much. I want you, bro. Motion Man over here. Thank you, bro. God bless you. Motion Man in the chat for 3 Diglets. Thank you so much, my friend. I really appreciate that. Really appreciate the love, guys. And no shortage of support being felt over on my end. And we hit 15K subs as well. So W's across the board. Thanks so much, man. 3 Diglets. Shout out to him. 07's in the chat. No O, you know what. Can't do that. Got to be safe. Okay. W's in the chat. Let's go. Thank you so much, my friend. All right. Besides 3 Diglets being rich, swimming in money. Oh, my God. X-Raider, 20 gifted. You guys are just W's, man. Thank you so much. I mean it when I say I can't contain the appreciation, guys. Thank you a lot. You know, I work a normal job and everything, so when people spend their money, I don't care if you're rich, if you're poor, you support me like that financially means the world, seriously. So thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it. W's for X-Raider. Shout out to you, man. You're the man. Thank you for joining the membership, everybody who chatted in tonight. Thank you for watching tonight. Thank you for sending me gifts or gifted memberships, as well as any super chat, whether it's $1 or $100. Thank you so much for the support. We'll be back here tomorrow, guys. We'll go over the remaining amount of news in Lebanon. I kind of wanted to cover that because there's some stuff going on that's being brushed under the rug. Not many people are talking about it. But W's to the super chatters and the gifted memberships, and we'll be back on tomorrow. Thank you so much, guys. Probably 9 o'clock, same time tomorrow, 9-ish, we'll start. I think that's a good time. I think that's a universal time that everybody's like kind of off work, winding down. So we'll go at 9. And yeah, be like maybe 2 hours, give or take. Thanks so much, guys. Look forward to the next stream. Shout out to Myron. He'll be debating in Ohio. Is it tomorrow? Potentially, I think it's tomorrow. Either tomorrow or Friday. So look out for that. Follow Uncensored America on Twitter, and you'll get all the developments and updates. Other than that, love you guys. Until next stream. Peace.